Hi, good evening guys. Welcome back to the 33rd Malaysian Architecture Education Online Series, proudly presented by MASA. Hope you guys are doing well and thank you for joining us again tonight. So for those who are new, let me introduce what MASA is. MASA stands for Malaysia Architecture Student Alliance and is a non-profit student committee acting directly under PAM, which is the Persatuan Architect Malaysia, consisting of student representatives from all architecture institutes in Malaysia. So during this time of MCO, MASA and PAM have decided to launch this online lecture series for students to be more productive and gain more insights. Architect Arjianta is the head of PAM education and Dr. 𝐁𝐮𝐢𝐫𝐞 is the convener. Okay, so my name is Guma Sylvester, a MASA representative from UCSI University, and I will be your moderator for today. I'd like to introduce you to the speaker tonight, Architect Mohd Fuad Bin Ahmad. He is the director of AY Architecture Sdn and principal of Arkitek Fuad Ahmad. He's a registered architect with Lembaga Architect Malaysia, and he's also a corporate member of Persatuan Architect Malaysia. He obtained his diploma Part 1 in architecture from Institute Technology MARA in 1996, and subsequently Bachelor of Architecture Part 2 from University Technology MARA in 1998. He has over 22 years of experience working in private architectural firms, which includes DRM Architect, Norman Ezane Architects, and GDP Architects. He's also very active, involving in delivering seminars and lectures to architectural communities, developers, banking institutions, and other different platforms on various topics ranging from housing development process to fire safety for buildings. And in addition to this, he's also very enthusiastic in professional workshops, PAM professional workshops, and LAP, Learning Architectural Practice Group, and Club Pembangunan Profesionalisme Architect Kuala Lumpur and Selangor, also known as BAR. Okay, so with his title of the talk, Overview of Fire Safety Requirement for Buildings in Malaysia, the talk will be a brief overview and basic requirements of fire safety for buildings with reference to Uniform Body Bylaw 1984. So it hopes that the members here will conceive the objective of the talk, which is to keep designers informed with updated fire requirements bylaws in Malaysia. All right, so sit back and relax. We'll have a Q&A session at the end of the talk, but if you have any questions during the sharing, feel free to type them down in the chat box, either in Facebook or Zoom, so we can attend to them at the end of the sharing. All right, so without further ado, let's welcome Architect Fuad. Are you here?
Yeah.
How are you, Architect? Good.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Okay. I think I don't need for this introduction because you already introduced me. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Without further ado, I think because the topic today is quite dry and very heavy, it will take longer time. So without further ado, I think we go straight for the topic for today.
You may share your slide now.
Okay, I share the screen now.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Okay. Okay.
Right.
I think we can start straight away. Yeah. Or do we need any? Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Today's topic will be on the overview of fire safety requirement for buildings in Malaysia. Okay. As I've been informed, this topic is basically it's meant for students and graduates. So I will be touching quite basic actually on the surface, because if you're gonna cover all the bylaws, it will take at least 3 or 4 lectures. Okay. Okay. Well, for the today topic is again overview. It's just overview of fire safety requirement for buildings. Okay. We'll be covering. This is the contents that we will be covering today. First, on the first part, part 1, there will be introduction to fire requirements, just an introduction to it. What reference do we need to refer to? And then the second will be the passive fire requirements, or part 7. In bylaw, you call it part 7. In bylaw, you have 9 parts. So the fire start at part 7 and part 8. Okay. And then the third part will be the active fire requirements, or part 8. fire alarms detection, extinguishment, and firefighting access. And then finally, on the fourth part will be the summary and enclosure. Will be summarize all this summarize all these about passive and passive and active fire requirements in the short form now. Okay, now let's start with the introduction. Okay, this is some of the contents. This is more detailed from the previous one. Okay, part one will be introduction again, introduction to fire requirements. Part two, passive fire requirements. I've separated into four subtopics. First, designation of purpose group. The second will be firefighting access. The third one will be complementation, and the fourth one will be exits and evacuation. Okay, on the part three, active fire requirements, we'll start on the detection and then how to control the fire and the communication of the fire. Number three, firefighting access for building is different from firefighting access for passive. This is for building. And the fourth one will be the extinguishment system, and then fifth part will be building exempted. They are building that have been exempted from firefighting requirement, and the fourth part will be summary and enclosure. Okay, without further ado, we go into introduction of the fire. Okay, introduction to fire requirements, part one. I think after part two, we'll be taking a break a while after part two only, after passive. Okay, now we go into the introduction to fire requirements. Okay, first of all, before we go anything on fire requirements in Malaysia, the guidelines, the bylaw that we have to refer is the Uniform Building Bylaw 1984. I have it here. They may come in any different color. Some are pink, but the basic is Uniform Building Bylaw 1984. Okay, can you read the cursor here? This is the main basic. We adapt the Uniform Building Bylaw 1984 from the British bylaw. In 1985, Wilayah Persekutuan KL, they modified it a bit and then they call it a Uniform Building Bylaw Wilayah Persekutuan 1985. And then subsequently, Selangor also adapt the same original bylaw, the main one 1984, and then they changed it into Uniform Building Bylaw Selangor 1986. This is the original bylaw. And then in 2012, Selangor made an amendment to the bylaw in which they improved quite a lot. But the bylaw is not being used throughout Malaysia just yet, because currently the LAM and PAM are doing the collaborating with the BOMBA in doing amendments to the original bylaw. But then some of the states has adapted. This is the, you can see the black book, we call it black book. Amendment of our building bylaw, they have improved quite a lot. But some the states that have been using it is Selangor, Perak, Penang, Terengganu, and Sabah. I think Putrajaya as well, but not KL. KL still use the old bylaw, the KL bylaw 1985. The other states still use the old bylaw 1984. There's quite a number of changes, but we're not gonna discuss it here because they will take another seminar. Because I did a seminar on the amendment, on the difference from the original bylaw and then 2012 in Penang, I think 2 years back. It will take another 3 or 4 hours just to discuss on the amendment. But for the purpose of education, student, you may use the original 1984 bylaw. It's still valid. Okay, and then the third one is just a guide. I think most of the architects have seen this guideline to fire protection in Malaysia. This actually is a more detailed the discussion on the more detailed from interpretation of the bylaw. This is just a guideline. This is not bylaw. So we must conform to the original one, the Uniform Bylaw 1984. Okay. Okay, let's go into before we go into details of firefighting, we have to look thoroughly into the bylaw. Okay, this is the bylaw. Okay, in fire, this is the only reference. Even if you work and then you do submission to Bomba, Bomba is always refer to this bylaw. Okay, what consists in the bylaw? You have to understand the bylaw itself before we go into details. Okay, the bylaw consists of, there are how many parts? 9 parts of bylaw. There are 9 parts and there are 258 bylaws. Start from part 1. Part 1 is introduction, part 2, part 3. Okay, this is the whole part. Part 7, there's quite a lot number of bylaw in part 7. Part 7 is where the firefighting requirements start. They start with bylaw 133 to bylaw 254. Okay, 255 start for the active number of bylaw. Okay, as for the building parts, bylaw parts, I think most of you have read through the bylaw. This is the part in the bylaw. The first part is the preliminaries. Part 2 is for submission plan for approval. Part 3 is for space, light, and ventilation. Part 4 is for temporary work, hoarding, any temporary work in regards to the building. Part 5 is for structural requirements. Part 6 is for structural requirements. Part 7, okay, part 7 is where firefighting starts with bylaw 133 to bylaw 224. Okay, part 8 start with for the active, start with bylaw 225 to 253, and then the last part is the miscellaneous. Apart from the parts, at the back of the bylaw, there's also schedule in which it will refer back to the all the bylaws. How many? There are 10 total, 10 schedule at the back of the bylaw. Okay, the first part, the first schedule is the fees and plan permits. This is where all this calculation for fees, processing fee, whereas if you submit plans to any local authority, they will charge you for processing fee. All these fees will be referring to the first schedule. The second schedule is all the forms for submission, starting from form A. Form A is for building submission. Form B is for commencement of work. And then for this, because this is old bylaw, it start with from D, E, F, N, G. G start from the new bylaw. They abolish the C form until F form because we already use the CCC, in which the G form has been used currently for CCC. This is all under second schedule. The third schedule is for ventilation. Normally, M&E engineer will be referring this for ventilation, and also architect. For project, if you do any building, you have to do a tabulation of ventilation calculation. For instance, for normal bedroom, 10%, and then 5% for bathroom and 15% for classroom. All the requirement is under third schedule. Okay, the fourth schedule is more on structural. This is where civil and structural engineer will be referring to. Okay, for fire requirement, it starts from fifth schedule until 10. These are all the fire requirements. Okay, on the fifth schedule, there are 2 parts. First, the schedule designation of purpose group. Okay, we'll be learning purpose group later on the second part of the lecture. And then the second part of the fifth schedule is dimension and compartmentation, limit of dimension and compartmentation. Okay, sixth schedule will be calculation of permitted limit of unprotected area. This is more on the building envelope. On the building envelope, there are certain calculation in which there are certain there are limit of openings that you may have for building facade. But we're not gonna touch it today because this calculation is quite tedious. Maybe some other lecture. Okay, on the fifth schedule, of course, we'll be discussing it today, not the sixth schedule. The seventh schedule is the maximum travel distance. We're talking about the travel distance if we have sprinkler and so on. Okay, seventh schedule related to equipment load calculation or capacity exit. This is the calculation of the width of staircase. How many staircase can we have on certain building? And then the width of the exit, width of the door. Okay, the 8 schedule is classification of restriction or spread of flame over ceiling. Okay, ceiling, we're not going to touch this. This is just a schedule with regard to the ceilings, ceiling and wall. Okay, the 9th schedule is limit of compartments and minimum period of fire resistance for element structure. Okay, this is more on the if you okay, in architectural terms, we always refer to wall, how many hours, doors, how many hours. We call it FRP, or fire resistant period, FRP. This everything is under 9 schedule. Okay, 10 schedule is a table for requirements for active. Active, we're talking about fire extinguishment system, what sort of alarm system, and then also emergency lighting. All the EL, in certain building, what sort of extinguishment of fire that we require? Do you require a wet riser or dry riser on certain building? Everything will be referring to 10 schedule, and also sprinkler. Okay, 10 schedule. The second part of 10 schedule is the capacity of the water. Because for firefighting, if you have sprinkler or you have system or hose reel, you will be needing a firefighting tank. So the capacity is on the 10 schedule. This is so remember the for the firefighting, for the part, it start from part 7, requirement up to part 8, and a bit on the miscellaneous. Okay, and then the schedule for the firefighting start from 5th schedule until 10th schedule. Okay, without further ado, we go into passive fire requirement. Okay, what we when we talk about passive, is always about it's not a system, so it must be implemented during design. We as an architect, we should know all these fire requirement for passive and then implement it in our design. Okay, for passive fire requirements, we'll be dividing it into my screen into 4 parts. The first part is we must understand the designation of purpose group. We need the function of the building, what sort of building it is. Is it institutional or is it shops? Okay, we must be able to identify the group, purpose group of each building before we go further. And then the second part will be the firefighting access to the building, which is very vital. And for firefighting, for fire appliances, for bomber. The third part will be compartmentation. How do we compartment a certain size of building based on the hazardous. And the fourth part will be the exits and evacuation. Okay, the way the passive fire requirements work is, okay, first we have to identify the type of the building, and then we have to design the access, and then we go into the building itself, which is the compartment, and then when the fire occurs, how do we run away? How do we run away from the building through the exits and evacuation? So it will be like college. How do you go through the building? Once the fire break, how do we access the building, and then when we go into the building, the fire occurs, and then how do we escape from it? Okay, let's go into designation of purpose group. Okay, remember the fire for passive start with bylaw 123. Okay, bylaw 123 and bylaw 124 says that every building or compartment should be referring to the purpose group. Okay, this is the 5th schedule at the back of the bylaw. Okay, there are 8 types of building based on firefighting. The first part is the small residential. Small residential, we're talking about mainly landed housing. We're talking about bungalows, terrace, CBD, and this is falls under small residential. But purpose group 1, purpose group 2 is institutional, school or university. Third one is other residential. Other than the part 1 is all falls under purpose group 3, hotel, even hotel is under here. Apartments. Okay, office is under 4, shops or shopping will be under 5, 7 factory, 6 factory, 7 place of assembly, whether multi-purpose hall, in which the density of the people is quite dense. And then the 8 the number 8 is storage and general. Storage, even parking is falls under purpose group 8. Okay, this is the simplified form of it. Okay, again, purpose group 1 is most residential, landed, 2 institutional, hospital also falls under this. The third one is other residential, apartments, flats, hotels, office, and then shops. 5 factory, place of assembly, 7 and storage, car park, place of storage, an area of depositing goods. Okay, once you have identified this, we can go next to the you can go further into the identifying all the compartmentation, all these other requirements for the bylaw. Okay, let's just back through this purpose group. Sorry, I got cramp. Okay, this is for landed. Landed is under purpose group 1, small residential. This is terrace. Okay, for shops, it falls under purpose group 5, retails. Okay, this is apartment, walkout apartment. So it falls under other residential. Okay, purpose group 3, apartments falls under purpose group 3. Okay, for this particular building, it's a mix. You have an office, you have a hall here, shops. So it's a mixed use. When it's mixed use, you may have different purpose group. You have an office there, but the whole, let's say the whole thing is a commercial. So the main purpose group is shopping. But then when it goes into details, each of the area must be identified as its own purpose group. It has its own hazardous area. Okay. Okay, for this, for instance, this is a capella. One tower is for hotel and another tower is for apartments. So you have a hall also. So you have purpose group 3, hotels on one side and apartments one side, and then you have a place of assembly for the hall, and then purpose group 8 for parking and storage. Okay, now I think we should be able to identify the purpose group first, because in any submission to BOMBA, on the front page on the site plan, you must spell out what purpose group of the particular building, because with the purpose group, there will be a list of requirements. For instance, a landed house is more simpler than multi-story. Okay, next, this is an example for identifying. Let's say this is multi-story building. Yeah, multi-story building. You have, let's say this is 15th floor. You have lift room here. On the top floor, you have restaurant, you have office, you have shops, and then you have car park. So lift room falls under 8. Storage in general. Okay, this restaurant is quite big, 1002. This is not a sitting restaurant, so not fixed sitting. So we put it as a place of assembly. The office, shop. It can be shop or it can be place of assembly. It depends on the function. Because of this particular area is too big, we clarify that this is as a place, believe that as a place of assembly rather than shops. Okay, now next we go into firefighting access. After we have identified the purpose group, we must design the access to the building. Okay, for firefighting access, we'll be referring to bylaw 140. Bylaw 140. Okay, it says that all building in excess of 7,000 cubic meters. Okay, if a building bigger, exceeding 7,000 cubic meters, we're talking about the cubic lah, the floor area times the height of the building. If it's more than 7,000 cubic meters, then you need access to the building. If it's less, then you don't need access. And then the access road must be, the entrance must be 12 meters, the gate, the main, and then the road itself must be 6 meters, 20 feet. Okay, the proportional building abutting the street shall be accordance with the following scale. Okay, it will depends on it started from 7,000 to 28,000, 1/6 of the perimeter of the road, perimeter of the building, and so on and so forth. If this building is too big, if you can see lots of big buildings, the volume is more than 112,000 cubic meters, then you must have an island side. Island side meaning that the road must be circled around the building. Okay, let's look into this a bit. Okay, this is the calculation. I think everyone knows the calculation of volume. You just times the area times the height. Okay, this is, for instance, this is for building 28,000 to 56,000 cubic meter. So the perimeter is A plus B plus C plus D. So you only need quarter. So as long as you satisfy any 1/4 of the side of the building, then it's okay. Okay, for the half, you need to satisfy half of the perimeter of the building. As for the 3/4, 3/4, so the access must be conform to the 3/4 of the perimeter of the building. And then if it's the volume is more than 112,000 cubic meter, you must have a road around the building. Okay, the entrance of the road itself is 12 meters, 12 meters for the main entrance. But the road encircling the building must be minimum of 6 meters. Okay, next, I think this is quite easy. After you get the access, we go into the building. We're looking at complementation. Okay, what is complementation? Complementation is the limit. Okay, the complementation is how do we limit the size of certain space in order to contain the spread of the fire. First, to contain the spread of fire from point of origin, and then we'll be trying to limit the potential size of the fire and separate areas of different hazard, and then try to separate the areas for safe evacuation and refuge, and to limit threat to structural integrity and allow sufficient time. This is more on the evacuation. Okay, complementation will be conformed under. Okay, first before we go into details, okay, this is a type of complementation. Let's say you have a big area and then you compartment. What I mean by complementation is that you don't need to compartment the whole 4 walls. You need to compartment in order to avoid the fire. Let's say fire from here going to the next area. So this will become a compartment wall, and then there will be fire door. This is interpretation of compartment, meaning that you compartmentalize certain plane or certain area so that the fire cannot come from one side to another. Okay, as for complementation wall here, the fire resistance period, you may refer it to 9 schedule. 9 schedule is where they will put on the FRP, fire resistance period for the wall. For instance, for terrace, you have party wall in between the house. Okay, party wall is normally 2 hours, but for other wall will be 1 hour only. And then normally for fire door will be half of the wall by FRP. If the compartment wall will require 2 hours, then the fire door will be 1 hour. Okay, that's one thing is on the compartment wall. And then compartment floor is the floor itself. The floor must be able to to stand a fire from, let's say, from below to top. You may have a certain cornice rises or certain, normally we have pipes coming up. So that area must be sealed off with fire retardant material. So that the floor itself will be compartment. Compartment means that will be protected from the fire, from whether from floor below or from floor on the top of it. Okay, this is another example of compartmentation. Okay. For instance, let's say this is a hotel or apartments. Because for apartments or dwellings, you need a compartment floor and compartment wall. So this will become a compartment wall and then compartment floor. Okay, it may open to a corridor. The corridor itself is being protected by having a wall. Okay, the corridor itself, it can be an open corridor as long as you have sufficient ventilation. If the ventilation is less than 50%, you need to protect the corridor by having some kind of mechanical ventilation. If it's open corridor, you have to make sure again the air that coming into the corridor must be more than 50%. Okay, next. Okay, this is the bylaw related to compartmentation. There are certain bylaw related to compartmentation. First, compartmentation by function and purpose group. Bylaw 138. Bylaw 138 says that floor and wall of institutional building must be of a compartment wall. In that, all the wall and all the floor for institutional building must be compartment wall. And then wall and floor separating flats. All floors and walls separating apartments or flats must be compartment wall. Okay, if you have different purpose group, let's say you have parking at the bottom and then you have shops and an office on the top. Okay, the wall separating different purpose group must be a compartment wall. And then floor and wall separating basement. You have a tower and you have a basement. Floor and wall separating basement must be a compartment wall. How do we design the wall? The wall must be able to resist the fire based on the fire resistant period based on the 9 schedule. And then also by the height. Okay, if the building is more than 30 meters, the floor above 12 meters must be all the floors starting from 12 meters and above must be a compartment floor. And then also bylaw on compartmentation based on the area. Okay, as a certain limit area, you must refer to fee schedule and also the volume. Let's go into the detail of it. Okay, so again, there are types of compartmentation based on function. There are 4 functions. Okay, based on the area. If you flip to the bylaw at the back, okay, this is also fee schedule. Remember that the fee schedule, they have two parts. The first part is the purpose group, and the second part is the dimension of buildings and compartments. Okay, you look at here from purpose group 2 until 8. And there's a note at the bottom of the schedule saying that purpose group 1 is for small residential, then that 4 is what? 4 is for office, for small residential office, and 7. 7 purpose group meant for what? Just now, we look back again. Okay, 7 place of assembly. Okay, for a small residential office and place of assembly is excluded because there's no limit. So for a landed house, there's no limit for compartmentation. So for instance, institutional, let's say you have a classroom and so on. The limits of the area must be not exceeding 2,000 square meter for each of classroom. Okay, and the shops 2000. Okay. Okay, and then also the limits of compartment will be double if you have a sprinkler. Let's say you design a shop, for instance, the compartment limit is 2000. Okay, but you cannot exceed the once you get the 2000, you cannot go very high. It must be limit to 7000 cubic meter. But if you have a sprinkler, then the limit will be double. So whenever you are designing a building, first of all, once you have identified your purpose group, you go straight away to the time schedule. Time schedule is where you will be identifying the extinguishment system. If your building there will be using a sprinkler, then you may increase the, you may double the area for complementation. Okay, this is all for this is based on the area and the volume. That the third one is we discussed earlier on the based on function and purpose group, and the fourth one is the by height for building more than 3 meters. The floor, every floor above 12 meters must be a compartment floor. Okay, for how do you ascertain the limit for complementation? Let's say we have a shop here. We have a shop of 3000 square meter. Okay, obviously when you refer, okay, presumably this is not sprinkler. There's no sprinkler here, so we stick to the 2000. The limit is 2000. So you have to compartment. You have to divide into certain smaller space, so that you gain the 2000 square meter. So you may have this wall. So this will become a compartment wall, not the other walls. This is the compartment wall, and this must be conform to the fire resistant FRP fire resistant period as stated in the schedule. Okay, the next is basement. Okay, for basement, you cannot exceed 1000. Because the volume is 21,000. But then let's say assuming that this is sprinkler, so the limit is 42,000 because it's sprinkler. So how do you limit? Let's say this is more. Wait, you can limit it either this way, so that one compartment is not exceeding 42,000 square meter. This is based on the volume because it's a RAM. RAM there's a opening here. Because normally when you designing a RAM, you must protect this area. So how do you do it? You have a fire roller shutter, fire rated roller shutter. Okay, this component A, B, and C, or it depends on the calculation of your volume. If this is sufficient for 42,000 square meter, then you may only compartment this way. Okay. As for again, we discussed already the function of purpose group. Okay, other walls and floors to be constructed as compartment wall and or compartment floors. Okay, like we mentioned earlier, any floor in building of purpose group 2 institutional. All the walls and the walls must be compartment floor, the flat or apartment. Okay, wall and floor separating different purpose group. Parking and office and shops, there must be a compartment wall separating those different purpose group. And the fourth one is a floor immediately over a basement. If the basement is more than 100 square meters, the floor above must be a compartment floor. And then also by height. By height, if the building is more than 12,000, then more than 30 meters, then the floors above 12 meters must be a compartment floor. Okay, this is the instance of compartment floor and wall for apartments. So for apartments, this wall must be a fire resistant wall, because that's why when you look at apartments, there is a fire door in front of it, even hotels. So okay, this wall is to avoid the fire from coming here to the other rooms, and then this wall is also to avoid the fire coming through the corridor. Again, the corridor must be able to conform with the ventilation calculation. If it's more than 50%, then you may have an open corridor. Okay, I mentioned this. This is how you identify okay, compartmentation based on the bylaw. Okay, bylaw 13. We start with bylaw 38. Okay, this is service apartment. So service apartment falls under flats. So the wall, the floor and the wall must be compartment floor and wall. Okay, because this is service apartment and this is office, this floor here must be designing as a compartment floor because it's a two different purpose group. The same goes with the office and the shop. This is different purpose group. Okay, because if you look at this building, it's obviously more than 30 meters. Then any floor above 12 meters every floor must be a compartment floor. Okay, the same as 138D, by law 138D, floor and wall separating basement must be a compartment floor. Okay, the size and the material of the compartments it may differ because it is very subjective because it depends on the serum testing and all and bomba set. You can vet through any materials if they have this serum and bomba certificate and comply with the fire resistant period as stipulated under the schedule, then it's okay. Even the thickness is very thin. If the test prove that it can sustain certain period of fire resistant, then you may use the material. So there's no limit of size and specification of the material. But in Malaysia, because we've been using a lot of concrete, so the concrete itself is already more than 2 hours. So we are not very concerned about the floors and then also the walls because our walls is for housing normally we always conform with the party wall. Party wall is by law 81. It's not a fire college. It doesn't fall under fire requirements, but you must comply with the party wall in which is specified that the thickness must be minimum of 2 to 5. But again, the 2 to 5 is already sufficient for at least 2 hours fire resistant period. Okay, next, this is confrontation. Again, confrontation is the limit. How do you limit the size of a certain area of the building? And then the wall and the floors and will be becoming the element of the compartmentation. Okay, next we go into exits. Sorry, firefighting exits. This is quite wrong. May I amend this? Wait. I need to amend a bit. This is should be this. Should be the last one. Okay. Oh, it's correct. Sorry. I'm a bit confused. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Of course, we have done the compartmentation. Now we are going to fourth part, exits and evacuation. Okay. After we've designed the limit of the compartmentation of the building, we must able to design design on the escape route of the building. Okay, for exit route, there are certain consideration. Okay, exit route space here, the protected passage from story exit to leads to final exit and includes space designated as an area of refuge anywhere between the story. Okay, for exit consideration, there is 5 consideration that you need to consider during design. Okay, the first one is the travel distance. Travel distance from one area to another to the escape, whether it's a door or a staircase, travel distance. Okay, another consideration, in any part of the plan, there must be 2 or more exits. Then we're looking at horizontal exit, storage exit, and fire exit. Okay, this is the bylaw that conform with the exit consideration. Travel distance is by under bylaw 165. There must be 2 or more exits, bylaw 166. Horizontal exits under bylaw 171. Storage exits under bylaw 167, and final exits under bylaw 169. Okay, let's start with the measurement of travel distance, bylaw 165. Okay, the travel distance to an exit must be measured on the floor starting from 0.3 meters, meaning that it must be from 300 from the wall, and the wall. Okay, detail of it will go into this slide only. Okay, before we go into travel distance, okay, the bylaw 165. Travel distance must be from 0.3 meters from the most remote end of the wall. Okay, in case of open area, the distance to exit shall be measured to most remote, provided that distance shall not exceed 2/3 of the permitted travel distance. Okay, bylaw 1652 says that for an open plan, for instance, an office, when you design office, you just design an empty office. Later on, you may add cubicle for office area. So for office or on open area, the distance, let's say the travel distance for the end is 15. You may count only 10 of it, which is the 2/3 of the travel distance. Okay, for a building, for a room, less than 6 person, you can measure it from the door. You don't have to measure it from the end of the wall because the room is not included as part of measurement, provided that the travel distance in the room at the farthest point to the door is less than 15 meters. Okay, the maximum travel distance to exits is as specified under 7 schedule. Again, just now we've already done fish schedule. Fish schedule, the first part is on the purpose group. The second part of this fish schedule is the limits of complementation. Okay, part 6 is more on limits of opening. We're not going to touch on that. Okay, this is the first part of this 7 schedule, the travel distance. Okay, before we go into detail of travel distance, we may want to look at the terminology. Terminology, you have to understand certain terminology, which is first, the end. The end is where you have no alternative, only one way, one exit. So that is the end. Initial travel distance before a point where an alternative path becomes available. There's no alternative, only one way. So that's the end. The distance is okay, distance in which you travel. Whether you have you must have alternative. You have choice of escape. Okay, open plan is where actual path can not be determined. Okay, for instance, just now we're talking about the office. Office is a plain office. This is an empty office, whereby you anticipate there will be a cubicle, a desk, and a table for the office later on. So the measurement will be permitted only 2/3 of the travel distance. Okay, let's look into 7 schedule. Maximum travel distance. This is how the 7 schedule look like. Okay, all I started from a purpose group. That's why purpose group is important, because you must able to identify purpose group in order to further looking at the requirement of the firefighting. Okay, this is purpose group 1, small residential, 2, 3, 4 up until 8. Okay, as for small residential, for housing, there's no limit. There's no the end. There's no travel distance required. So you may have a very long house, or it's up to you. Okay. So the table is first purpose group. On the there are 4 columns. This is all the purpose group. This the second column is the end limit. So the end limit is specified here. Let's say, for instance, for office is 15. If it's an open plan, then you must count it as a 2/3. So it will become 10, unless you have already have in place all the tables and the chair, all the cubicles, then you may use the 15. As for shops, the limit is 15. If it's sprinkler, then it's 60. This is for alternative. If you have option, you have a door on your right and door on your left, then the limit from the furthest distance must be 45. You have 45, 45. So in between exits, you may have like 90 meters. And this is 60 for if it's sprinkler. Okay, let's look at the instance of it. Let's say we're taking an office. Okay, again, office, we're assuming that it's open plan. So the travel distance is 2/3. 2/3. Okay, 2/3 from the end is 15, the third is 10. Okay. This is we may amend it. This is 15. Sorry, yeah. The distance is 30 meters. Oh, this is 60. Sorry, I have to amend it. This is 60. Okay, 60 because we have sorry, because it's open plan. It's becoming 40. You know what I mean? Okay, okay. On the blue part, this is the end because you have only one here. Here you cannot see this other door unless you come into this point. So from here you can only see this one direction. So this becoming the end. Okay, once you are here, then this become you have alternative. So this is must be less than 40 meters. We're taking for sorry. Let's say assuming this is sprinkler. So we're taking 60 because it's 2/3. Then the end will be 40 only. Okay. As for this, you have for the right one you have option. You have either this door or this door. So this distance must be less than 40 meters. Okay. Same as this. This from here you have option of this door or this door. Yeah, you must remember that the angle. Okay, let's say you're here, you have one exit here and then another exit here. Okay, the angle of this must be more than 45 degree. If it's less than 45 degree, it becomes the end. It's only one. There's no option. You have only one alternative only. So you might. It's not no more 40. It's become 10. Okay, next. Okay, if you have a room, let's say this equipment is less than 6. Okay, you can there's not the end here, only distance. So the travel distance you may calculate the travel distance from the door. Okay, wait. This need to change also. This is also 40. Okay. So there's a way of not cheating. A way to get through the travel distance. If you think you cannot, there's certain the end that you cannot entertain to. You may have a room, but the room must be less than 6 person, or the distance from the end of the room must be less than 15. Yeah. The end is a limit of travel distance to exit where no alternative exit is provided. It can be manipulated via compartmentation. Like we mentioned, we have a room there. You may manipulate the travel distance. Travel distance limit of travel distance to exit where alternative exit is provided, whether you have 2 or more access. And then the limit can be increased via sprinkler. But again, the schedule is already stated this the travel distance for sprinkler. Okay, this is another example. This is a hotel. Hotel under purpose group 3 or other residential. So the limit is 10. So because here you only have one option of escape, which is here, because the fire escape door is here. So the limit is 10 meters. This is because the staircase is here, but once you get here, this is already a compartment. So sufficient to travel until up to the fire door here. This is not part of it. When fire occurs, the part that you need to escape is here, but you can escape it through here because this is also a compartment. This is already protected from the fire from the corridor. Okay, this is another instance. Hotel. Look at the air limit is 10. But if it's sprinkler is 30, then if the sprinkler is 45, it's not sprinkler is 30. So the air limit is 10 here. Okay, let's say where is the farthest point? The farthest point is here, center. Okay, this is the end. Okay, from here you have alternative. So the farthest point here must be, if it's sprinkler, then this is 45. This is 45. Okay, from this point to here must be 45. From this point to here must be 45. Okay, another example. Okay, you have hotel again. This is the end. Okay, how about this? Is it alternative or the end? This is considered the end because the angle is less than 45. But how can you manipulate it? Okay, this is the end, fine. You cannot, it's less than 45. So what you do is, okay, this must be less than 15. So from here must be less than 45. This is how you manipulate the end. From here is more than 45. Then this is alternative. Okay, that's on the travel distance. Remember, travel distance is more on the whether you have the end or you have alternative, and then whether it's sprinkler or not. And then the last one is if it's an open area, it must be a 2/3 of the travel distance. Okay, next we go into horizontal exits. What is horizontal exits? Okay, remember that we earlier on we talk about complementation. There's a limit of complementation. So from one room to another, if it's based on horizontal, then we call it is the door from that particular room to next. We call it as a horizontal exits. Okay, let's say this area is compartment one part and second part, the door. This is called a horizontal exit. Okay. Just now we compartment this because limit of complementation 2000. This is considered a horizontal exit. This is also considered horizontal exits. Okay. Horizontal exits, there's no calculation. It's just a terminology to describe an exit through a horizontal. And then the same goes with the story exit. Horizontal exit, story exits, and final exit is the term of exits, whether through the door or through a shutter, meaning that the exits through certain compartmentation. Okay. The story exit is whereby you escape from one story to another. Normally from top floor to ground. Okay, for instance, this is horizontal exits. We're talking about this is horizontal exits. And then when we go into the staircase door is the story exits because we're going through to another story. Okay, this is the section of it. This is horizontal exit. Okay. Story exit. Sorry. Okay, this is maximum travel distance. If you have complementation, then the door is considered horizontal exits. If you go to another story, it is a story exit. Okay, final exit is where you escape. It can be ground floor or a podium whereby you escape from the fire. The last final exit. Okay, for instance, this is travel distance, story exits. The final exit. Okay, this identified exit is the door going to the outside of the building. Okay, as for multi-story, okay, as for other levels, you must escape to ground level. For basement, you must escape directly. You cannot have call it a staircase going from top onto the basement. Normally, we manipulate it as we having a wall at the ground floor, so that you have two separate door from basement to the outside, and then from the top floor to the outside. Okay, those are the consideration, exit consideration, travel distance, 2 or more exit, you must have 2 or more exits, and horizontal exits, storage exits, and the final exit. Okay, next, we go into exit components, the components of exit. Okay, there throughout the exits, throughout the escape, we'll be going through a series of components, whether it's a door, whether it's corridor, lobby, and staircase. So exit door and exit discharge. Okay, door refers to the physical door installed at an exit and all function components set. This is normal door. Okay, discharge refers to the doorway lah, the frame of the door. Okay, let's see. Let's look at this. Not all fire-rated doors are exit doors. What do you mean by that? Not all fire-rated doors are exit doors. Because there are some rooms that we must have a fire-rated doors, but it's not an exit doors. For instance, electrical room. All electrical room must be all the electrical compartment must be compartment. So the door itself must be a fire-rated door. Okay, not all exit doors need to be fire door. Okay, the final exits. Remember the final exit. We're talking about the last door. Let's say if you're coming down from a staircase, the final exit door doesn't have to be a fire-rated door. The final one. Okay, not all exit doors need to be fire door. Okay, not all doors need to be exit doors. Yeah, obviously the room door, any other door store, that's not exit doors. Okay, not all doors can be exit doors. Of course exit doors is only 1 or 2, the final door. Okay, exit doors must always be able to open. I mean, normally if you look at the bomba fire door, it must not be locked, but normally is push outwards. Okay, exit discharge must always allow the passage of people at all times. Exit in the context means story exit, result exit, and final exit. Okay, now we're talking about exit door. Okay, just now remember that we have compartment here, compartment there. Okay, fire door. This is part of the door, fire door. This is not exit door, but it's a horizontal exit door. Okay, the door, how do you determine the size? The size of the door and the size of the exits of the door will be determined by occupancy load calculation. Later on the 7th schedule, occupancy load calculation, there will be calculation for staircase, for horizontal exit, the width. There's a certain limit, a certain minimum requirement for exit doors. Okay, the width of the door must be calculated based on the occupancy load, but the fire resistance period of the door must be conformed to the 9th schedule. Okay, those are exit doors. Okay, corridors. For corridors, there are 2 types of corridor. Okay, normally for fire, we don't discuss on the open corridor. Is because of the corridor, there's no requirement. Requirement for open corridor is whereby you have more than 50% ventilation. So it's not. That's the only requirement for open corridor. So it's not part of. There's no calculation based on the firefighting. As for protected, protected corridor. Okay, let's say this is what you mean by protected is that this corridor is protected from the fire, whether it's from this unit. So this wall must be compartment, or we have a fire door. So the corridor itself has been protected by the means of having a wall here, and also by having a compartment floor on top of it. so that the fire is not spreading from units or any parts of hazardous into the corridor. If the corridor is very long, then you may want to have a horizontal exit. Then the horizontal exit must be part of compartment wall, and then also have the fire door from one part to another. Okay, next, okay, lobbies. Okay, if you're coming from the room, compartment room, you exit through the door. After the door, you comes into the corridor. And then as for before you going to staircase or lift, you may encounter with the lobbies. Okay, lobbies is a space, and whereby before you enter certain lift or, and then also there's a requirement for staircase. Lobby is where it's a space before you going into another space. Okay, there's for lobbies there are 3 types of lobbies in the bylaw. The first one is protected lobby. The second part is smoke lobby, and the third part is firefighting access lobby. The protected lobby is whereby the lobby itself been protected as by using of a compartment wall. Just now we discussed about compartment wall. By having a compartment wall and fire door, the lobby itself is protected. Whether it's protected lobby serving lift or serving staircase, then it is called protected lobby. Okay, smoke lobby is slightly different from protected lobby. Smoke lobby is also protected lobby, but it's normally meant for staircase. Before you enter staircase, there's a space protected. The staircase protected the smoke coming from outside into this staircase. It's like intermediate space before going to this staircase. So we call it a smoke lobby. But a smoke lobby is also a protected lobby, but it's meant for a staircase. And firefighting access lobby is a lobby designed for firefighting access. Okay, firefighting access lobby designed for firemen use. Because for firefighting access for building, bylaw 229 for building more than 18.3 meters. For building more than 18.3 meters, you must have a fire lift, fire staircase, and firefighting access lobby. Okay, the way that firemen fighting fire during fire for building above the 18.3 meters is by using fire lift. So when they use the fire lift, when the door lift open, it opens to a lobby. Those lobby, we call it firefighting access lobby. So it must be protected. And then also all the fire extinguishment system, for instance, wet underriser must be in the lobby itself. So we call it firefighting access lobby because it's meant for firefighters. Okay. Okay, protected lobby. We're going to detail lobby. Protected lobby shall be provided for to serve staircase in building exceeding 18 meters above ground, where the staircase enclosure are not ventilated through external wall. Okay, what it means is, okay, the first one, for building more than 18 meters, and then second part is internal staircase, whereby there's no natural ventilated staircase. If it's internal staircase, you must have a protected lobby before going into the staircase. Okay, in a building more than 45 meters, the staircase, the lobby itself must be pressurized. Okay, protected lobby may be omitted if the staircase enclosure. If the staircase itself has a pressurized system, then you may omit the lobbies. Okay, let's look at it. What do you mean by that? Let's say you have corridor or another space. Okay, this is the staircase. This is what we call it a protected lobby, a space, intermediate space before going into the staircase. It's meant only for internal staircase. If this is the staircase, you have ventilation throughout the wall here, then you don't need this lobby. If it's internal, at the center, if the staircase is at the center of the building, then you need this lobby. If it's the building is more than 45 meters, this lobby need to be pressurized. And then you have a pressurized system, the ventilation system. If you go into a certain building, look at the pressurized, there's a there's a louvers covering up the pressurized. Good. And those are protected lobby. How about smoke lobby? The smoke lobby, access to staircase smoke lobby shall be means of fire doors or opening of the direction of escape. Okay, with a smoke lobby, no point not less than required exit width. Smoke lobby shall be provided at basement level where escape staircase serving up upper story extended to a basement. Where practical smoke lobby shall be open. What do you mean by the difference in between protected lobby and smoke lobby? Smoke lobby is also protected lobby, but is situated at the basement. Okay, like for instance here, you have no choice but you have to extend the staircase to the basement. So this is the space. This is the smoke lobby. Okay, this is the just now again smoke lobby. If the building is smoke lobby and protected lobby is the same. If the building is more than 45 meters, it has to be pressurized. Pressurized is whereby you have the pressurized system. You have a ducting here. Normally this is louvers. So there's an exhaust system that giving pressurization to the smoke lobby. You can omit this if your staircase itself has a pressurized system. Again, it's meant for internal staircase only. If your staircase is at the side of the building, you have sufficient ventilation, then you don't need the smoke lobby. Okay, and the next part is firefighting access lobby. Okay, sorry. Again, omission of smoke lobby. Okay, for staircase here, you have a miniature ventilation, so there's no problem. So into the staircase, you may have a smoke lobby. If you have pressurized system itself for the staircase, then you may omit the smoke lobby. Okay, for fighting access lobby, I will be referring to bylaw 229. Okay, this really all this detail of it, but the extract of it. Okay, first, firefighting access lobby is meant for firefighting access, meaning for firemen, because firemen will be using the lift, fire lift, then they need the lobby. And then it's only meant for building more than 18 meters. Okay, over here it says 18.3, but in bylaw 247 fire lift, it says 18.4. So we take the simplest meters, we round it out as 18 meters. So again, for building more than 18 meters, you need a fire lift, firefighting access lobby, and fire staircase. But in a horizontal way, let's say your building is very long, like for instance, mid-valley is very long. so the firefighting access lobby must be located at the farthest point 45.75 meters. So in a lobby to lobby, you will be requiring 91.5 meters minimum. From one lobby to another, you must have 91.5 meters minimum distance. So the lobby itself must be protected. Okay, for instance, we have this, like you mentioned, firefighting access lobby. This is the lobby, the space before going into the lift. So must be protected. This means must be fire door. Okay. The thing about firefighting access lobby first must be protected, and then it must be accessible to fire staircase. And then all the equipment must be here. But you can omit the lobby if the distance from the lift car to the staircase is less than 7.5 meters. Okay. Let's move. Okay, next. I think that's about it on the lobbies. Next, we go into staircase. Okay, for staircase, there are three types of staircase. First, the escape staircase, and then external staircase, and the single staircase. In order to ascertain the calculation how many number of staircase or the width of staircase, you must understand the capacity exits and occupancy load. Okay. This will be based on the calculation because, like I mentioned, all exits, there's a calculation to it, whether it's a door, whether it's a staircase, whether it's a ramp, all the exits. And then all this calculation must conform to the capacity exits and occupancy load. Okay, what do you mean? What is occupancy load? Occupancy load is limits of person within that particular floor. Okay, when you design certain building, okay, let's say in an office, you're talking about 2,000 square meter. Okay, how many person can you fit into this 2,000 square meter? It's not that you agak-agak, it must be based on something. So the calculation will be based on under, if it's by law, it's under 7 schedule. And remember that fifth schedule, fifth is purpose group and compartmentation. 6 is limits of opening to unprotected areas. 7, the first part is travel distance. The second part of the 7 schedule is occupancy load. This is where there's a table that allow you to calculate number of person within that particular area. If you have an office of 2,000, how many person can you fit in that floor, in that space? And then from that, you're able to calculate the limit, the limit of exit, how many, the width of the door, the width of staircase, the width of horizontal exits. Even though later on we look at the table, and there's a table for escalator and ramp. In Malaysia, escalator and ramp cannot be counted as escape, fire escape, because ramp, because it doesn't conform for escalator, it doesn't conform with the tread and riser of staircase. So bomba will not consider escalator and ramp as a mean of escape. Escape for MRT or LRT, escalator may use as an escape, but not for a normal building. So 7 schedule later on, we'll be looking at calculation of limits, how many person in the particular floor, and then how do we calculate the width of the exits. Okay, before that, we go into the terminology. Okay, this is the case. Okay, the bylaw conform to the escape staircase are bylaw 168, 177, and 181. Except here we have a summary of it. Okay, bylaw related to escape staircase. Okay, bylaw 168. There must be a minimum of 2 to escape staircase. In any building, there must be a minimum of 2 staircase, except under provision of bylaw 194, while single staircase, in which will be this collector. Apart from this, all other buildings must have minimum of 2 staircase. Okay, 168, 2. 1 staircase omit, non defense of fire. Okay, in terms of calculation of staircase, if you have 2 staircase, 2 or 3, 1 staircase must be discounted. You cannot count 1 staircase. So in defense of fire, you still have another staircase to escape. Let's say you have 2, you can only count 1 staircase as a calculation. The same goes as bylaw 177. Okay, minimum number of exits 2 is again repeat under 177D. Okay, total occupants of the floor, minimum exit 2 units width 1. What does it mean by this? What it means is the width of a staircase of any building must be minimum of 2 units of width. Okay, the escape unit is based on width, based on its unit, 1 unit equivalent to 550 mm or 0.55 meter. That's 1 unit of exit width is 0.55 meter. So minimum exit width for staircase is 2 unit. Mean that minimum width of a staircase, any staircase must be 1.1 meter. It cannot go lesser than 1.1 meter, unless the occupant for the whole building less than 50, then the staircase can go into minimum of 900 mm. Okay, I can repeat that. Okay, on the staircase, minimum width any staircase must be 1.1 meter. except for if the occupant for that particular building is less than 50, then you may have 900 mm as a width of staircase. Okay, 177F, no decrease in width. If you have, based on the calculation, different purpose group, you have different width of the staircase. Okay, the staircase cannot decrease in width, meaning that, let's say, on top floor, you calculate the width is bigger, wider, 2 meters. And then lower floor is 1 meter. You cannot decrease 2 to 1, it become bottleneck. It must be consistently. Okay, it cannot decrease. It can increase, but not decrease. It can goes into 1 meter, going to the lower floor, becoming 2 meters, is okay. But it cannot go 1 meter to less than 1.1 and then go lesser than the width on of the above floors. Okay, again, A1 repeats the as width measurement is 552 or 550. There are three different description of bylaw. One says 155, 550, one says 552. So we take 550. Okay, for a building above 30 meters, 1 and 5, all the staircase must reach roof. You must be able to have an escape on top of the roof. Okay, on bylaw 229, for building above 18 meters, you must provide a firefighting staircase. Below 18 meters, it doesn't count as a fire staircase, but for building above 18 meters, count as a firefighting staircase. So how do you start to calculate staircase width? Staircase and width and number of staircase. So there are 4 different types. For steps. Okay, first determine the variables. What are the variables? First determine the purpose group. You must know the function of the building, obviously, and then determine the area. Okay, let's say you have the area 2000 or 4000. It must be based on every floor. Each floor must be calculated differently. You cannot lump ground floor plus first floor plus second floor. It must be each floor must be its own area. Okay, second, determine occupancy load. Okay, once you got the purpose group and you got the area, you refer to this 7 schedule. You should be able to calculate how many person will be on that particular floor. So how do you calculate? Okay, and the formula is occupancy load person on the particular is area divided by occupancy load factor. Okay, the third, after you got the occupancy, the number of person, how do you determine length of staircase in unit in meters? Length of staircase is this occupancy load divided by factor for staircase, and then you convert it into meter by times 0.55. Then you get the length of staircase in meter. Okay, let's look into the real one. Okay, first we'll look at the 7 schedule. This all schedule start from small residential until 7 place of assembly. Okay, if you look 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ada. There's no calculation of occupancy load for purpose group 8. Storage, parking semua tak ada. There's none. There's no calculation for occupancy load for parking, garage, storage. Okay. Okay, this is again the step. How do you calculate? Okay, for instance, you have a plan here. You have already ascertain a travel distance. Okay, coming from here, this is sufficient travel distance. Office that just now, travel distance 45 unsprinkled and 60 if it's sprinkler. So you ascertain that this is not sprinkler. So from this point to here is for less than 45 is certain. So you coming up to 2 staircase, but you don't know the width of the staircase just yet. So how do you determine the purpose group? Office purpose group 4. Okay, the area is 1200. So how many person can you have in this particular floor? So 1,200 meter. Okay, you refer to schedule. Occupancy load in square meter, 10 gross. So you have 10. So occupancy load is the area, you divide by the occupant load per square meter, 10. So basically you in this total area, there must be maximum of 120%. That's how you calculate number of person. Okay, next, you need to calculate the length of the staircase. Not the length, the width actually, the width of the staircase. Okay, so just now you got the 120. 120 you divide by the factor for staircase. So factor of staircase is 60. If it's horizontal exits, you divide by 100 because you calculate staircase here. So it must be 60. Yeah? So 120 you divide by 60, you get 2. Okay, from 2, you need to convert it into metric. So 2 times 0.55 again. Remember, one unit of exit width is 0.55. So 2 times 0.5 is 1.1 meter. So the length of the staircase, okay, is 1.1 meter. You divide by number of staircase. Because you have 2 staircase, one staircase cannot be count of fire. So 1.1 meter divided by 1. So you got 1.1 meter. So both staircase must have minimum of 1.1 meter width here. The width count from the edge of the railings to the wall. This one, not the whole length of the staircase, only one side. Okay, this is sample of 2 staircases. Okay, what if you have 3? Okay, let's repeat the same procedure. You have an office here. Okay, office of 1,100, and then you got the 120%, but you have three staircase. So you got 1.1. Okay, this is where it differs. Okay, number 4, 1.1 meter you divide by 3 minus 1. Okay, you have 3 staircase. So you minus 1, you only count 2 staircase. So 1.1 meter divided by 2 equivalent to 0.55 meter only. You only need 0.55 meter for the width of every staircase. But again, the minimum requirement, because less than this more than 50%. So the minimum width of the staircase must be 1.1 meter. Remember we talk about by law here. Okay, by law 177, minimum exit width is 1.1 meter. So the staircase there must, all the staircase is 1.1 meter. Because you cannot conform to the minimum, you have to have 1.1 meters. This is a case of 3 staircase. Okay, what if this is only 1 floor? Because normally when you do the calculation, you have to calculate every floors, the whole building. So let's say this is like 5-story office. Do you do this calculation? No, we have to simplify. Okay, this is the sample calculation of multi-story office tower. Let's say it's the same floor plan. Okay, you have three staircase. So what you do is you have this level here, ground 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Purpose group is all office, area is all 1,002. Occupant load is 10. So number of occupant is this divided by this 120. So exit capacity for staircase, you refer to the 7 schedule. 120 60, 100. Minimum width of staircase is 120 divided by 60, becoming 2. So you convert from this to meter, it 2 times 0.55, becoming 1.1 meter. Okay, because you have predetermined 3 numbers of staircase, so you divide 1.1 divide by 2, not 3, because you must minus 1, so it becoming 0.55. So you must able to clarify your findings. Okay, staircase width for all staircase is 1.1 because minimum width of the staircase is 1.1 meter. Okay, it applies from for all the floor because actually similar area from first floor to fifth. For ground floor, there's no calculation for staircase because ground floor you can just open up to outside. You don't need staircase to escape. You only need door, so not required for ground floor. Okay, next, okay. What if you have multiple purpose group? Okay, this is example for calculation for mixed use multi-story complex. We have here 6-story of multi-story complex with basement here. Okay, first we have different. You have car park at the basement. We have shopping at ground and first. You have office at second and third floor. The fourth floor you have hall. Fifth you have limited room, and then area is also differs. Basement you have 2,000, shopping 40,000, and then coming a bit smaller, and the office 2,000, hall 1,005, and then 1,002 for limited room. How do you calculate? You do ascertain the width of the staircase. Okay, occupant load is different because it's different purpose group. Okay, as for basement, purpose group 8, there's none. There's no calculation for occupancy load for purpose group 8. Okay, if we look again back to the this the whole 7 schedule. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. There's none for 8. So 8, there's no calculation, which include basement and then also limited room because it's storage. So you put in none first. Okay, for shopping. Okay, for shopping, it's different. For ground and first floor, occupancy load factor is 3 and 6. Okay, look again, back again. Okay, shops. Okay, base street floor is ground. 3 and other floors is 6. Okay, place assembly 1.5. Remember 1.5. Later on we will be looking at this. Okay, 10 is again office 1.5 for place assembly because it's a hall. So number occupant is differs. Okay, because car park none. We put none. Ground floor. Okay, again area divide by 3 by the occupant load. We got this. So obviously there's more people here, ground floor. Here, first floor divided by 6. We have 766. Office smaller, but again hall for hall it's very stringent. Okay, 1.5. So basically you have 1,000 people, even though the area is smaller, but it's concentrated. When it concentrated, so you have 1,000 person for 1,500 meter square. So exit capacity again, the area. Sorry, this is exit capacity per staircase. This is based on the service schedule, 60, 60, 60, but 75 for hall. So this divided by this, you got the minimum staircase with 22 meters. This is 11. This is 3. This is 3. This is 13. Okay. Okay. Because okay, this is obviously larger, but for this because it's ground floor, you don't need a staircase for ground floor. So this calculation for 22 meters is only 22 meters. You convert to meters 12.2. This is only meant for the width of the door because you don't need staircase. So for ground floor, the total width of the door must be more than 12.22 meters. Okay, let's look again at the staircase. For shopping, you got staircase 6.11 meter with total width. Office at 1.8. Okay, but hall is 7.33. It's very big. So assuming that because it's very big complex, you have six staircase. So from hall you divide by 6. Okay, each of the because you have 6, you divide by 5. Remember, you omit one staircase, 7.23 divided by 5, you got 1.46. This divide this by, you got this. This is divide by 5, you got this. So you have 6. You have 6. All these all 6 staircase must be more than 1.46. Okay, so assuming that the hall, you put 1.5 lah, easier. So all this staircase going through, because the hall is on top floor, going down, there mustn't be a decrease of width. So it's all 1.5, 1.5, all throughout the ground floor. So you must comply with the longest, the widest staircase, which is the hall. But as for the lift motor room, okay, and car park, because there's no calculation for occupancy load, you must comply on 2 items, 2 things. First, you must comply with minimum staircase width of 1.1 meter. Remember, by law says minimum staircase width is 1.1 by law 177E. That's one condition. The second condition is you must comply with the travel distance. As for this is storage. Storage, the travel distance. Let's look back again. Okay, travel distance for storage, parking. Parking 15. Okay, and 45 if it's regular. 30. There's parking, and then other storage, lift the room, there's no requirement. So whenever you designing a basement, you only need to comply on the travel distance only. All the staircase escape must be complied with the travel distance, and then the width of the staircase must be only 1.1 meter. So you must qualify all these findings. Okay, this is 1.5 is widest staircase. So all the staircase must follow the widest staircase from top floor. Okay, that's vary on the calculation of occupancy load. You may use, because this topic is very long. We're not going to go through the horizontal exit at the door, but the calculation is similar. If you have you need to calculate the exit door or horizontal exits, you just change the exit capacity here. If it's a horizontal exit, you just put it as a horizontal exit door. Okay, if you look at this, okay, a door outside or horizontal exits. If the question require you to calculate the horizontal exit, you just change the factor here. The factor here, exit capacity for horizontal exit. Here also is exit capacity for horizontal exits. And then you got the finding here. Okay, that's done on the escape staircase. Okay, remember escape staircase is a method of you put in number of staircase, and then you calculate the width of it, whether it's sufficient to cater based on the occupancy load. The next is external staircase. External staircase is very direct, whereby you have an external staircase, but the case about one external staircase based on 191 is more on what can be permitted or what not. Mainly ventilation, the wall attached to the external staircase. You have external staircase here. There's certain limit of openings. Toilet can be, you can have it there. No opening can be done from 2 meters from the staircase. It's mainly the main control is the fire spread from the opening from the wall attached to the external staircase. There's no requirement for whether what part of railings And then calculation must be adhered because the width of the staircase must be complied with the calculation of occupancy load as well. Because escape staircase can be external also. So the width must be complied to the earlier calculation of occupancy load. Okay. Okay, next we go into single staircase. Remember staircase, first escape staircase, external staircase, and single staircase. Okay, remember that we mentioned that any other building, you must have a minimum of 2 number of staircase. Okay, except as allowable under bylaw 1 and 4. Okay, building with single staircase. Okay, what it means by building with staircase, we have summary here. Okay, building with single staircase, whereby the topmost floor is less than 12 meters. Let's say you have 3 meters, you may have 5 stories of building of 5 stories. Each of the story is 3 meters because it's topmost floor, the floor, not the ceiling. That's why in certain old apartments, PKNS apartments, all walk-up apartments, and they put up a 5-story walk-up with a single staircase. So it's permitted under bylaw 1 and 4. Okay, that's one part. But mainly bylaw 1 and 5 applicable to lots of short houses. So short houses normally they conform with the bylaw 1 and 4. Okay, and again 1 and 4, that's bylaw 1 and 4. 1 and 4A state that if the building use a single staircase, the structural element, all the structural element must be minimum of 1 hour fire resistant period. Okay, number 2, 194B. Okay, the use of it is only for domestic and office. That's why normally it's meant for shop house or shop office only. And then ground floor may be used as a shop or car park. It can be used as domestic, office, shop, or car park for ground floor. And then the staircase from ground is protected by wall of FRP for a period of more than 2 meters minimum. And then provide deflector wall of 450 at the entrance of staircase. Okay, maximum travel distance from the door is 12 meters. And to provide sufficient windows at ground and first floor as means of escape. Maximum travel distance of 30. Okay, what do you mean by that? Okay, we look at this. This is a sample of shop office. Okay, retail, we have retails. Now you have a shop here, retail at the ground, and then office on the first floor. Okay, what do you mean by that? The topmost floor, because it's 2 or 3 stories, so it must be less than 12. Structural element is 1 hour. Okay, other than that, all this element wall here must be 1 hour, except for staircase from protected. Okay, because staircase here coming up, this whole wall, this is 2 hours. This is 2 hours. This is 2 hours. Okay, staircase from ground protected by wall 2 hours. Okay, because it's protected, you must have 5 door here. Okay, provide deflector wall of 450 entrance. Okay, this is because from here to this row shutter, whatever this must be a minimum of 450 deflector wall, so that the fire from here cannot come directly into the staircase, or this fire from the staircase cannot go inside the ground floor. Okay, maximum travel distance from door is 12 meters. Wherever you are, the farthest distance is from the door is 12 meters. Okay, to provide sufficient windows at ground and first floor as means of escape, maximum travel distance of 30 meters. So this window here must be able to openable. In case of fire, you just break the window and then you jump. This is a means of escape. It's for bylaw 94. It's meant for building at less 12 meters, whereby the topmost floor is less than 12 meters. Okay, that is under basically bylaw 94 based on the original bylaw from bylaw 1984. But as bylaw the revised one 2012, did no more allow a building with topmost floor of 12 meters, only for building of 2 stories only. Only short lots only allowable based on the new bylaw. Short lot, I mean, short office and short lot, only 2 stories. But for residential, you still have the topmost floor of 12 meters, only for walk-up apartment only. So the new bylaw is permitted for walk-up apartment, whereby the topmost floor is maximum 12 meters, and then allowable only for short house or short office. Okay, that's about it on the pacifier requirements. I think we take a break first. Okay.
Yeah.
Can we take a break first?
Yep, sure.
Yeah.
Yes. So, right, guys, we'll be taking a short break, about 15 minutes. But I see a lot of questions in the Facebook chat. After the break, we'll be answering a few of your questions. And yeah, I'm sure you guys are very eager for the next section. We will be back again after this break. Right? See you guys later. Hi. Okay.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. So,
I think I'll take a few minutes to answer a question because
yeah,
otherwise there'll be no more
yeah,
question.
sure.
Okay,
Let's
vet
do
through
that.
vet through the chat.
Yeah,
First,
sure.
Jackie Steven, 2/3 of 45 meters is 30 meters, right? Yeah, it's correct. I will mend on the slide. Okay. Okay, Shivanison Supiah, purpose group will spot centerfold into institutional spots. Spot is institutional. Okay, FB question, Nazirah Nazinuddin, for basement with air wells, is smoke lobby necessary? First, what sort of air well? We have to define. Okay, basically, a smoke lobby is in intermediate space in between basement and the staircase, because it functions as a trap for the smoke. If let's say a fire occurs at basement, the fires doesn't go directly to the staircase. So the smoke lobby is like intermediate space, so that you have a buffer zone before the staircase. So the smoke lobby itself need to be ventilated. Whether you have air well on top of the smoke lobby is okay lah. Whether you have naturally ventilated or by means of mechanical or pressurized. So if any kind of ventilation is sufficient for a smoke lobby. Okay, Ivan Chai, if a 25-story condo corridor to live with naturally ventilated, what do you mean by protected is protected from the element of the fire. Okay, let's say the fire started, for instance, from the unit. If the unit itself, the walls, you have the door is protected, then you don't need the corridor itself has been protected. When the corridor itself has been protected, the lobby itself is protected. It's because the lobby can be part of the corridor. There's an instance of whereby you can design the lobby as part of the corridor, as long as you can ascertain there's no fire spread going into the smoke lobby, so going through the lobby, but the lobby itself it's not no more protected. It's like a lobby, so it's just a lobby. But for to answer Ivan Chai, you have to look at the plan, whether it's protected or not. You have to be certain. But again, the ventilation, if you want a natural, then the opening must be more than 50%. Then it's considered natural ventilated. Okay, the size of protected lobby, there's a certain limit. I think about 1,800. There's I have to check back on the bylaw. There's a certain minimum size of protected lobby. Okay, Simon Ng, if the internal staircase direct right up to the roof and have windows, do we still need? You have to prove the calculation, the ventilation calculation. Okay, because normally M&E engineer will do this, whether it's 6 exchange per hour. Normally that's the calculation must be submitted to Bomba. If you can prove that the exchange is sufficient, then you don't need the smoke lobby because it's naturally ventilated. Okay. You have to prove the calculation for the ventilation. Simon Ng, okay. Happy question. How can we know the factor number? What factor? This is based on the occupancy load, is it? It's all on the table for occupancy load. You refer to 7 schedule on the second part. All the numbers is there. The factor, occupancy load factor, and the factor for the staircase. I think I can show again on the slide. What is this?
Sure.
Okay, this is occupancy load. Okay, the factor, the capacity exit. Okay.
Sorry, I think you haven't shared your slides. Yeah.
Huh? Oh, you haven't shared this slide.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah.
It
Can
should
share. Yeah.
Okay, if you look at this, okay, occupancy load. This is the occupancy load, and then the factor for staircase is this. This okay. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 columns. Purpose group. The occupancy load factor is this. All this on this column. This is factor for. This is for door outside. This is for horizontal exits. These two for the ramps, and this escalator, and the factor for the staircase. This is the number of the factor. Okay, let's look again on the question. Okay. How do I enlarge this? Okay. Okay, here's the rights. I have a few questions. I would like to know the distance between EL and other EL and distance from the wall. Okay, this is subjective because EL is based on the, I can remember the Malaysian standard, but the for this, normally when we architect, we design, rule of thumb for EL, it starts, it will cover 6 meters in radius lah. So from the wall, you offset about 6 meters, and then for another subsequent EL, another 12 meters, 12 meters. That's what we do lah. Okay, beside the high risk room, what kind of type of room that need EL? And is there any such that need to be consideration? Okay, normally EL, we put out EL throughout the escape route. If you determine that okay, this is the route that you'll be taking during fire escape, then there's a need of EL. Okay, normally like office or police working area, you need EL there, and then next to it, the along what corridor, okay, even the staircase you need EL. So the consideration is based on the route you'll be taking towards the exit. Okay, possible factory to use 194? No, because by law 194 already stated is meant for dwelling. And for this again, we share screen again.
Yeah. So okay, after this, I think you can just put the slides on. No need to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at the question.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Wait,
Yeah.
Okay, byline 194 stated byline 194 single staircase. Okay, what can we have here? Only for domestic and office use only. And ground floor may be used as short angle car park. Okay, that's why there's a certain instance, even in my project, and there's an instance of short office, short house, they converted into hostel. There's a lot of this going on in Kelang. Okay, when you convert it into a different purpose group, the hostel is under other residential hostel, then you cannot use the single staircase anymore. So bomba will require a second staircase, whether you do external staircase or another staircase, because it's normal force under bylaw 194. So to answer the question is not possible. Okay, a few questions. Sintong Ng, can we install electromagnetic lock at fire door? We ini based on the bylaw by bomba. Yeah, we can, but the door, if you look at the signage on the fire door, it must be open all the times. So basically, what they do is they install it after inspection and after approval, which is kind of illegal lah. But as for fire door, you cannot lock actually. You must be able to open. Okay, Yiling Tan, can you use classroom lock set for fire exit staircase? Lock set, meaning that fire exit staircase. You mean fire door lah. using a classroom lock set for fire door for exit staircase. Okay, as for fire door for bomba approval, bomba will approve the whole set. You cannot use simply other lock set. Bomba will approve the frame, the lift, the lock set, the whole system as one go. So when we purchase a lock set, a fire door, it comes with the whole package. So to answer your question, you cannot use normal lock set. Okay, Brandon, already any consideration for bomba going for 1 unit 4-story bungalow? Do PSP submit? Okay, all buildings must be submitted to bomba. Bungalow, even a single bungalow, terrace house, even though. Okay, I think the question come up if you do a submission to bomba. Okay, when you complete the building and you want to have a CCC, okay, bomba direction is for all landed housing. They won't do any inspection, so the PSP, the architect must certify themselves lah. But as to answer your question, submission must be done, but bomba won't do inspection lah. You need to the bungalow. But what we do, okay, this is subjective. Sorry, the question is quite subjective because some authority they don't require bomba for bungalow because it's individual. But as from normally, if 4 stories, I will submit for bomba. I will submit bomba, especially Selangor lah. Because if you look at new bylaw 2012, all residential, even apartments or bungalow or terrace, there must be an extinguisher, portable fire extinguisher equipped in every building. So if I'm in your position, I will submit to bomba just to get approval. Okay. Hi, I have 2 questions. Can glass material wall considered as compartment wall? No, bomba. So far, bomba unless you can prove by testing that it can withstand the certain fire resistant period. Can sand brick used in patio wall? Yeah, there is a cases that you use a sand brick, but you have to submit because for patio wall, if it's sand brick, you have to submit the testing, the test report, and then as for fire police, fire material, that's how we call it. You can use any material as long as you have CRIM and then you have fire bomba set. If you can prove lah, but I don't think sand brick. They have the testing unless they can provide lah. But then again, sand brick 2 to 5, okay. Okay, I have a question on difference for net and gross in the occupancy load. Okay, net and gross described in summary schedule. If you look at there's a caption on below, bottom of the table. Okay, for net is net normally you have to omit because you only calculate occupancy per floor. So you have to omit all the toilets, all the storage area. Those are net. Gross, of course, because if you don't have time, you calculate the whole thing lah. It's easier this way. Otherwise, net is very tedious. Okay.
Okay. So that's all. Yeah, for this round, I think we continue with the
active.
Yeah, sure. Right, thanks.
Yeah. Okay, let's resume back again. Okay, resume back on the next part of the fire safety, which is the active fire requirements, fire alarm, detection, extinguishment, and fire access. Part 8. Okay, for this particular part, we have 5 sub topics. First, detection and fire mode operation. Okay, session fire mode operation. This is the bylaw. Bylaw related to detection, fire mode operation, detection. Okay, bylaw 153, you must have a detector to fire lobby, to leave lobby, sorry. Okay, the building to be equipped with detector and alarm. What sort of building? Later on, we will how can we equip with this? We must refer to certain schedule. And then fire alarms, automatic and manual under bylaw 155. Fire alarm to be designed and installed as per MS 1745. And EL emergency power 253, and emergency light for escape is 253A, and close sign to provide exits lights. Okay, we look at detection fire alarm. Okay, the first part is detection. Detection fire alarm. This is the types of detection. Whether in market you have heat detector, you have flame, you have smoke, expiration, and then this is all automatic. Automatic, and then you audio and visual. Audio and visual is normally like CCTV, and then post alarm. This is type of alarm, detection fire alarm. Wait, my mouse. Okay, whenever you design a building, what sort of detection and fire alarm that you will be requiring? For that particular part, especially for active, you may directly refer to 10 schedule. Okay, this is the 10 schedule at the back of the last one, the last schedule in the bylaw. Okay, you have the purpose group, the office, you know how many stories in the area. Okay, there are 4 columns in the 10 schedule. The first part is this description of your building and the purpose group. The second part, the extinguishment system. You have G, A, and G, all that. Later on, we'll be looking at this. And then fire alarm. Fire alarm system is under the third column. Okay, for let's say for office, 4 stories or less, none. 5 stories and over or exceeding 1,000 square meter, you need a number 2. Exceeding 80 meters but less than 10, you need 1 and 2. What is 1 versus 2? Okay, you refer to note 3. Note 3 at the bottom here. 1 is automatic fire detection system, number 1. Number 2 is manual electric fire alarm system. 3 is signal indicator alarm system and manual alarm system. Okay, what are the difference? Automatic fire detection system is when you have the detection system connected to the whole system, connected through wiring and then to the control room. Okay, manual electric fire alarm system is when you do a manual, you nampak, you see the fire break. You put there's a there's alarm that you use your hand to manually sound the alarm. Okay, signal indicator and manual alarm system. Okay, we'll look at the sample. This is automatic fire detection, whereby you have the fire panel, call it firefighting panel. This is for normal building. For building with control room, this will be located in the control room, automatic fire detection. So this system of the building is connected throughout. Every area of the building is connected. Okay, manual electric fire alarm system. Manual is because you have to trigger it manually. Once you've seen it, you switch on. So manual fire alarm. Signal indicator is the normally smoke detector. You can see the light blinking whenever there's fire. And then there's a manual. Manual because it's not automatic, so you have to manually do it. This is the old days turn you turn the pushing turn it around. So will trigger the alarm. So the system, what sort of fire alarm detection that you require, you refer to 10 schedule. Okay. Emergency light and close sign. Close sign is also emergency exit lights. So there's 2 different things. The EL is the individual light that lit up the passage, the route that you'll be taking during the escape. So number of location of self-contained will be indicated. Emergency generator room, then set electrical switch room, fire pump room, staircase, and along escape corridors. This is the location that you'll be requiring to allocate your emergency light. So if throughout the route, throughout the escape corridor, throughout the route of the escape, you have an emergency light. But when you come up to the door, to the horizontal exit, you need the emergency exit lights or the keluar sign. Okay, this is the bylaw regarding to the sistem kuasa kecemasan, emergency light. Okay, there are three things. First, sistem kuasa kecemasan ataupun emergency power supply. 253 is DEL, again, DEL. This is keluar sign. So what you mean by certain EL is independent, but a certain sort of building, you need the generator, meaning that you connect to the generator, such as essential building, a hospital, so even a school. Whenever your building is quite complex, then you need the emergency power supply or the genset. So what sort of building that will be requiring this? Again, we look at the table of the time schedule. You look at the last part on the fourth column, emergency light. Okay, for office. Let's say we look at the most okay. This is the highest one, 30 meters. You need a C. If it's 5 story, you need A. What is A, B, and C? Okay, A signal point unit is a self-independence, meaning that you can buy the EL emergency light and just put in, and it's not connected to the whole system. It's independent. Central battery, all this EL connected to a central battery, and then the last one, C. If you have a C here, so all the EL must be connected to the whole system, and then generated by generator in the event of power failure. Then the generator backup will supply the power to the lighting. So whenever you have the C, okay, building exceeding 80 meters, building exceeding 30 meters. Okay, whenever you have this, you must equip your in your design a generator set room, emergency power supply. Okay, just about that. It's very simple because on EL confirm only three things. First, the emergency light itself. This is emergency light, and then the exit light itself, keluar sign. This is on putih lah. Normally we kita pakai keluar sign. And then the third one is the power supply to the lighting, whether you have a genset or independent battery. Okay, that's about it on the EL. So for time schedule, for active, we already covered fire alarm system and emergency light. Later on, we're looking at extinguishment system. Okay, before that, we go into fire control and communication. There are some okay, okay, the way the lecture is going to is through sequence. Once you detect the fire, and then the bomber came through the to the building, through the road by access road, and then going through to the building and control the fire. How will the bomber control? Is through first fire appliance access. We already discussed earlier on access road by law 140, whether you have 1/4, half, 3/4, or island side, and then availability of fire water is mainly hydrant. Then fire control, command and control center. What sort of building that you need? What is command control center? A control room. What sort of building need a control room? And then voice communication is normally a PA system, public announcement and isolation switch. Okay, how do bomber access? This is purely meant for firemen. How do they gain access to the building, and then how they fight the fire? Okay, through command control center, because we already discussed on the access, and we go straight to the second part, which is command control center, voice communication, and isolation switch. Okay, command and control center. For a building for more than 30 meters, you must have a control room. It's easy as that. Once a building exceed 30 meters, you have to have a control room. Okay, for voice comm or PA system, okay, building with fire lift. Basically, building with fire lift is what bylaw of 229 refers to. If a building more than 18 meters, then you must equip it with fire lift. So whenever you have a fire lift, you need a PA system. Or is an office more than 92.9 meters square, you need the whole PA system, voice comm system. Or is it apartments or hotel, you need a voice of PA system. Okay, the next part is electric switch, isolating switch, meaning that it's a separate switch based on the zoning. Okay, this like mid valley or bigger buildings, and the zone must be separated into a maximum of 929 meters square. Every zone of floor or zone, I think this is salah is must be less, maximum of 929. If its building is bigger, like let's say 1000, you have to separate into 2 separate zones. So if you don't have the switch in which the bomba, the fireman, can switch off the electrical on the particular zone in order to access, because electrical is very hazardous during fire. Okay, so that's on the fire control and communication. Okay, firefighting access. And then once bomba reach the building, they have the control room. And how do they access a building? The access for the firefighting access is based on the bylaw 229. Remember, bylaw for active, it starts with bylaw 225. Okay, for building, bylaw 229 says for a building more than 18 meters, first, you must provide a firefighting access lobby. We discussed this earlier. Firefighting as the case. Firefighting staircase is the protected staircase that we discussed earlier. If the staircase is protected, it can be considered as firefighting as staircase as well. So another part is you must provide wet or dry riser for building more than 18 meters. Okay, second part, firefighting lobby to be provided at 45.75 for this point. In that, for every at any point, the firefighting lobby is 45.75 meters, and then subsequently another 90 meters. So the first one is 45, and then another 90 meters. Okay, the third part is firefighting access lobby may be omitted if the case is pressurized. Firefighting access lobby, if it's part of the staircase is part of the lobby we discussed earlier on. If the staircase itself is pressurized, then firefighting access lobby doesn't have to be pressurized. And the firefighting staircase to firefighting access lobby, from firefighting staircase to fire access lobby. This one, I think, this one we discussed already. Firefighting staircase must be accessible from the firefighting access lobby, must be accessible to fire staircase. Okay, firefighting access lobby to be equipped with fire lift accessible to firefighting. So this one, all I think we based on this. Okay. Okay, if this firefighting access lobby, the staircase must be accessible to firefighting lobby. Okay, if this is pressurized, then you don't need. And this is if this staircase is pressurized, then you don't need the firefighting access lobby to be pressurized. And then all the equipments must be equipped within the lobby, which is like wet or dry riser. Okay, go back. Okay, for firefighting lobby, you may refer the earlier notes, because it's similar. Okay, what we do next is the fire lift, and then fire lift again refers to bylaw 229 and bylaw 243. As for building more than 30 meters, you must provide a fire lift. Okay, the calculation for the height dimension. As for penthouse, let's say you have this let's suppose now you have this mezzanine. We're talking about mezzanine only. Floor above is sorry, penthouse. Let's say 2 stories penthouse. The above floor is less than 50%. Then it doesn't count as the level. So if it's 2 story, it counts as one story only. And then to be separated shaft, to be in separate shaft from passenger lift. So fire lift must be its own shaft. You can because for normal passenger lift you can have 2 or 3 lift in one shaft. But for fire lift it must be its own shaft. And fire lift to be discharged to protected lobby. Okay, and dry riser to be provided in the lobby. And lobby distance is 60 meters apart. So this is confusion here because firefighting lobby must be like 45, say 45, 75 furthest point, but from one to another is like 90. So here they needed 60. So there's a contradiction here. But to be safer, you take the 60 meters from one fire lift or firefighting lobby to another. Okay, those are for the firefighting access for building. Okay, this is the detail of it. Similar, applicable for building more than 18 meters. Penthouse doesn't comply. Okay, location 61 meters. One fire lift per group to serve every floor. So this is for the lift bomba lah. Normally you can look at the top of the lift. This is lift bomba. That's the. It can be used for passenger, but for the during fire, bomba will activate it. Okay, during fire break, all lift will be will go down to the safest floor, let's say ground floor, and then it will open up. All doors will open up, and then when bomba reach, they will activate the fire lift because normally there's a lock. There's a lock at the door here, in which bomba only can use the lock and then activate the fire lift to go to the which floor that been subject to the fire. Okay, the lift lobby cut that or minimum 5.7 because you need to be able to put in structure here. Must be have a EL or lift to return to escape floor and remain open when activated. Have signal and fire lift and operated with emergency power. So whenever you have a fire lift, you must have emergency power. What you mean by emergency power again? We refer to the generator set. So whenever you have a lift, you must have a genset room. So is it whenever easier for designer to a certain space whenever they have certain fire requirements. Okay, that's part on the firefighting access for building. Next, we'll look at fire extinguishment system. What sort of equipment that you may require to extinguish fire? Okay, detecting extinguishment fire by law 5 say every building shall be provided by means of detecting. Detecting we discussed already, and extinguishing fire with fire alarms together with limited signs. So by law 5 said that, but it must be referred to 10 schedule. Okay, on 10 schedule we discussed already on the fire alarms on the third and which is like on the fourth. Okay, extinguishing system is on the second column. Let's say you have an office less than 4 stories, you don't need anything. 5 stories or exceeding 1,000, you need G. When it's exceeded 30 meters, you need A and G. What is A? What is G? Okay, you refer to note 2. A is automatic sprinkler. B is water spray. C, high expansion foam system. D, carbon dioxide. E, halogenated. F, untitled extinguishing system. G, hose reel, and H, hydrant system. So A is sprinkler. I think it speaks by itself. Later on, we'll look at detail of sprinkler. Water spray system. this sort of sprinkler, but in the bylaw there's no indication of B lah. Maybe some special building. Expansion foam system used for basement lah. Normally basement where there's no human, no occupants, so use high expansion foam. Later on there's a detail of it. Carbon dioxide system. Where do you use a carbon dioxide system? Carbon dioxide is meant for electrical. It's meant to fight fire for when we have electrical equipments lah, like server room, even genset room is you need a carbon dioxide system. Whether a TMB substation, normally is portable lah. But if it's a TMB substation attached to building, then you need FM300 system, which is the carbon dioxide system. And approved halogenated. Halogenated is meant for explosive. If the building is processing explosive materials, then you'll be needing a halogen. Other automatic extinguishing system is the engineer will decide lah what sort of automatic extinguishing system. Okay, hose reel. Hose reel is a hose reel. Later on we'll look at it. Hose reel is not part of fireman's equipment. It's mainly for occupant use and other hydrant system. So this is the indication of so what you do whenever you have a project, you already know the height of your building, you know the area of your building. You quickly go into this time schedule so that you know whether your building will be requiring a sprinkler or not, because it will affect the travel distance, it will affect the complementation, whether you can have it double or not. So after that, you go back to the passive lah. Once you know the building require a sprinkler or not, then you will start doing the passive fire and then go back into the active. Okay, let's look at this. Okay, let's go into one by one. Okay, fire extinguishing system, external hydrant system. Okay, as for hydrant, we'll be referring to bylaw 225, the second part. So hydrant is intended for fireman use. It must be located at 91 meters apart from one to another, but it must be located from 30 meters from breaching inlet. What is breaching inlet? Breaching inlet is a valve in where, okay, in certain building later on we'll be looking. If you have a system like hose reel, like wet riser, then you will have a firefighting tank, a firefighting tank to store the water for the wet riser, for the hose reel. So the tank, the inlet water for the tank, okay, the valve is called breaching inlet. So whenever the fire break, bomber will top up the water. There's always water in the tank, but it may not be sufficient. So the bomber will need to top up the water into the firefighting tank. So that's why the location of the hydrant must be less than 30 meters from the breaching inlet and 6 meters from building. So from there, every 91 meters apart, you'll be needing a fire hydrant. Okay, water from tanks into pumps. This is for firefighting tank lah. Tank compartment unless tank pintu. This is it lah. Because normally what the supply for hydrant comes from the water reticulation. It comes like the same water as air Selangor supply, the same pipe from the main pipe. Okay, this is the hydrant. Let's say you have this. Okay, when you design this building, so a hydrant must be at every 91 meters. But the fire hydrant must be 30 meters from breaching inlet. Let's say you have firefighting tank on the basement below this hotel here. So your first hydrant must be 30 meters, and then subsequently 90 meters hydrant. Let's say you have breaching inlet here. So the first hydrant must be 30 meters from breaching inlet. Okay, a bit of not confusion. Let's say the difference in between and the new bylaw and the old bylaw. The old bylaw says 91.5, but the new revision 2012, they round out everything. So they put it out 90 meters, just like the building above 18.3, 18.5, they put it as 18 meters. Okay, next, portable extinguisher. The extinguisher, I think everyone has seen this, but the indication of the extinguisher, there are many types of extinguisher. Normally, it will cover different types of hazards. A is for solid materials, B is for liquid, C is for gases, metals, electrical E, and F. So this is the hazard, the materials. And then this is the type. For water, solid material, we use water, foam, dry chemical. What you have here, you may have a different color, blue, black, only, but the label is different. For water, the red, blue is for the strip. And then also in the market, normally they cover everything. One extinguisher will cover class A, B, C, or D. It will cover the whole class. So you may not have a different extinguisher because one extinguisher may cover lots of classes already. So in market you have normal 4.5 or 9 kilo, and this is for ABC, and there's ABC. ABC cover solid, liquids, and gas. And this is normal. SCO2 is for electrical use. And foam extinguisher, this is for basement. Okay, next. Okay, hose reel. Hose reel under Schedule 10, and there's no indication of detail of hose reel in the bylaw, old bylaw, but in revision they have added hose reel must comply to Malaysian Standard 1489 under bylaw 226A. And then is intent for equipment use, meaning that we as equipment may use it before fireman comes. Fireman also can use, but it's meant also for equipment. But as for wet odorizer, it's only meant to be used by firemen. So it will cover about 30 meters in radius. So every 60 meters you need a hose reel. Okay, water comes from the tank, like we mentioned earlier. If you have a system, of hose reel, you have wet riser, you need a firefighting tank. So it must be a separate tank to store the water. Must be compartment to be painted red, and then you have two kind of pumps, one standby and one duty. And we must be designed to MAS 1489. Okay, again, this is, okay, next is dry riser. Okay, well, dry riser is under bylaw 230 and 232. Okay, compared to hose reel, it's only meant for firemen. Okay, as for dry riser, what sort of building that you need a dry riser? If it's building more than 18.3 meters, but less than 30.5 meters. So basically, it's a pipe, but it's a dry. There's no water inside there. So bomba will put in, will supply, connect to the valve, and then will carry out. Only that the pipe will be filled up with the water. So you'll be needing a breaching inlet. Just now we talk about the valve breaching inlet at the ground level. This is the hose, and then within 45 meters from the landing valve. So the distance in between dry riser must be 45 meters. Preferred to be in the fire lobby with access to a staircase. It's preferable to have to be in the firefighting lobby. Okay, this is the diagram of dry riser. I don't know whether some of you have looked at it or not. It's different from hose rail because it's color yellow. Okay, the pipe is here, but the pipe is dry. So it will connect to, this is the breaching inlet. If you look at some building, you have to look at it. And this is the valve. We call it breaching inlet, in which the bomber will supply the water here. And then it will fill up the pipe with the water. And then there will be a hose. The hose is color white. And then we'll connect and then use the hose and the pipe with the water to extinguish the fire. Okay, so the dry riser is non-automatic vertical pipe, but it delivers water for building above 18. It's called dry because it's dry, there's no water until firemen connect the water supply. Okay, it's different from wet riser, whereby wet riser is the same system but it's filled with the water. Where does the water came from? It came from the firefighting tank again. So wet riser is hydrant for use. If it's the building, remember that the riser is from 18.3 meters to 30.5. Above 30.5, you need a wet riser system. Why does it say until up to 70.5? Because after this, you need another system. You need another pump. You cannot use the same pipe going all the way up to 70.15 meters. Okay, again, you still need a breaching inlet because breaching inlet will not connect to the pipe, will connect to the firefighting tank, so that a bomber can top up the water in the firefighting tank. Okay, water from tanks, SM. Okay, this is the diagrammatic difference. You have a breaching inlet here. This is dry riser, all empty. There's no water in the pipe. So every floor, okay, let's say you have 3 separate lobby, firefighting lobby. So each of it must be connected to breaching inlet. Okay, if it's a wet riser, the same system, but it connect to the water tank. Okay, breaching inlet is here, and then bomber will top up the water here in case the water has been dry up. So this is pump standby duty and the standby next to it. Okay, those are the manual. Basically, when we talk about hydrant, we talk about portable extinguisher, we talk about hose reel, dry riser, wet riser. Those are manual, in that controlled by human, whether occupants or firemen. But as for the system which is automatic, in that you don't have to do anything, will extinguish fire automatically. So some of the system are sprinkler, foam inlet, and automatic CO2 system. And then for automatic system, is allowed under bylaw 226. Okay, let's look at the sprinkler. Okay, sprinkler intended to detect extinguish fire and water occupants. It will goes out automatically. So it's not effective if it's 17.5 meter high. So if 17.5 meters high, you may use a wall. You can don't put it on the ceiling, you put it on wall. There's a few types of nozzle that can be used for wall. And then water from tanks. Okay, remember that here for sprinkler is the water inside there is always pressurized. That's why it can just shoot out the water whenever fire occurs. So when the pipe is pressurized, the tank is also pressurized. So sprinkler, you cannot share the same firefighting tank with hose reel or wet riser. Okay, as for hose reel, wet riser, you can share. You can have one firefighting tank, and then if you have a sprinkler, you need a separate water tank for sprinkler. So you need 2 sets. One is a normal firefighting tank, Another one is a sprinkler tank, if you have a sprinkler. Okay. Next, we go into foam inlet. Sorry, this is again sprinkler. This is what happened in the sprinkler room. On this pipe and above. Okay, the effects. If sprinkler provided, the following bylaws will be in effect. A bigger compartments. It will double compartment, and then longer travel distance. But it's still it's very costly lah. It's very expensive. Sprinkler valve located safe enclosed exterior wall. Yeah, when you have the system, it must be connected to the bomba system lah. Obviously, when you have sprinkler, you'll be needing a control room as well. And then to provide separate firefighting tank for sprinkler only. Okay, next we go into foam inlet. For inlet, normally it's for basement where automatic system is not provided. Underground structure and windowless building. When it's totally blackout, block up basement, then you may use a foam inlet. You may use also sprinkler, and then it's up to the normally mechanical engineer will specify which system they want to use. Okay, next is automatic CO2 system. Again, CO2 system. We discussed already. CO2 system is meant for electrical equipments. So any electrical rooms or any, you may use automatic CO2 system. Like I mentioned earlier, like the MV substation. If it's independent, you use only portable CO2 system. If it attached to the building, you may use you call it FM300 or FM500, which is the automatic CO2 system. Whereby the system consists of a cylinder tank and a pipe, and then you will have the detector, and then its own panel and exhaust system. So the system works whenever the fire occurs in the room, they will trigger the alarm, and then they will give sometimes like 60 seconds to occupant to exit the door, and then they will close, block up totally the room, and then the CO2 system will be extinguished, will be dispersed. So because it's hazardous to human, because it's carbon dioxide. So it consists of CO2 systems, steel piping, discharge nozzles, and control panel, activates visual when released. The action to allow equipment to escape. As for transform, it's meant for electrical use, for transformer, electrical genset, switch room, and not occupied rooms. Power supplied by electric socket and standby maintenance-free battery. They will have a battery, and activate by 2 or more detectors and additional manual break glass. Okay, so remember that whenever you design a certain building, if you have, let's say, for instance, a lift or fire lift, when you have a lift, then you may need a emergency power. Emergency power comes from genset. If you then you'll be providing a genset room. Whenever you have a genset room, then you must provide an automatic CO2 system. Okay, next. The other consideration in connected to active fire requirements, we talk about already water storage. So whenever you have a system, you have hose reel, or you have wet riser, you need firefighting tank. And additionally, if you have a sprinkler, then you need a sprinkler tank. And emergency power system, which is we are referring to the bylaw here, is the genset. Whether you be requiring a genset or just a storage battery, those you must refer to the schedule 10 at the back of it. If it says a genset, then you have to provide a genset room. Okay, water storage under 247 and 253 is emergency power system. Okay, this is summary of active fire fighting. Okay. As for active fire, okay, for protection, okay, there are 3 types of portable extinguisher, hydrant system, hose reel, internal hydrant system, dry riser, wet riser, down comer. 𝐷RM, I don't discuss 𝐷RM here because it's no longer usable in Malaysia. 𝐷RM is normally like host rail system, but it's gravity. They shoot out the water to the tank on the top of the building, and then it will go down by gravity. Normally used for low cost, but we don't use it anymore, so I don't put it here. So for automatic system, you have sprinkler, automatic sprinkler, you have CO2, and then foam system. Then this is protection, this is detection. You have detection in terms of fire detection, heat detector, flame, expiring smoke. This is detector system. And then as for other requirements, okay, voice alarm system, you have audio-visual, okay, fire lift, and so on. Okay, that's a summary of active fire system. As for bylaw, okay, detection, this is fire to lobby. This is related bylaw 153 and 225. All buildings must be equipped with detector alarm. Fire alarm under this bylaw 155 and 237. As for manual fire extinguisher system, external hydrant 225, host reel 26A, anti-schedule and portable extinguisher. As for automatic, sprinkler to system in general 226, sprinkler 228. If for student, you don't have to remember, don't have to memorize all the bylaw. Just a reference to be made lah. Because as for firefighting, you must refer to certain reference. You cannot just assume based on assumption. Normally, for a part 3 exam, then you have to quote which bylaw that you'll be using. That's why I have this summary. Okay, these are the bylaw. Okay, building exempted. The last one, before we go into summary. Okay. Okay, this is under under part 9. Part 9, they have miscellaneous. What is this? Under miscellaneous. Bylaw 256, this is very important. Okay, bylaw 256 says a building exempted, except for bylaw 141 and paragraph 2 of bylaw 225. The provision under part 7 and part 8 of this bylaw shall not apply to private dwellings, house, detached, semi-detached, that are solely intended for single purpose. What does it mean by that? What you mean by this is landed dwellings, purpose group 1 is exempted from provision under part 7 and part 8. Meaning that for landed bungalow, terrace and terrace, semi-D, all the provision of fire, passive and active, you don't need active or passive fire requirements, except for what? Bylaw 141. Bylaw 141 to provide separating walls between units, and then by paragraph 2 of bylaw 225 to provide fire hydrant. Okay, that's why for landed and terrace, semi-D or bungalow, Bamba won't, of course, they won't do inspection lah. But then they will be looking at only 2 parts. For terrace or semi-D, is there a separating wall? In between, we call it party wall, but wall is bylaw 81. This is bylaw 141. So the separating wall must be there for terrace and semi-D. And then there's a hydrant, and that's about it. So if you are designing a landed house, don't dwell so much on the passive and active fire, except for separating wall and to provide the hydrants. But you might still need to confirm the access. You must have access road of minimum 6 meters. Okay, that's about it on the fire safety. I think I go straight to the summary and enclosure of it. It's almost 11. Okay. Okay, compartmentation, this is a bylaw related to it. Again, we just recap the summary. Compartmentation, wall and floors. the way you design complementation is first by function and purpose group, or second by height or area or volume. So by function, floor, all institutional building, all flats must be, all the floors and walls must be designed as a compartment wall. Okay, if you have two separate purpose group, the wall and floor separating purpose group must be a compartment wall. And then if you have basement more than 100 meters square, then the wall, the floor separate, the floor separating ground and basement must be a compartment wall. And then by height, if you're building more than 30 meters, the floor must be, the floor above 12 meters, each of the floor above 12 meters must be a compartment floor. And then by area and volume, you may refer to piece schedule. And then this is wall is under this bylaw. Okay, detection and fire mode. Detection, again, we discussed already. This is bylaw, fire alarm, emergency light, and close sign. Exit consideration, travel distance, measurement of travel distance, 165, and also you refer to 7 schedule, the first part. And then for exit consideration must be a minimum 2 exits, or we talk about horizontal storage exits, and no decrease in width until final exit, bylaw 69. Okay, exit component, we talk about exit door, corridor, lobby, and staircase. This is all the exit door, power, operated door, exit egress. Okay, protected corridor, what is protected, what is unprotected. And lobby, we talk about protected lobby, smoke lobby, and fighting access lobby. Okay, as for staircase consideration, when you design, you must be minimum 2 egress, must be minimum of 2 staircase, unless it's a condition under bylaw 1 and 4, which is the single staircase. It's one staircase, omit the event of fire, the same. Okay, minimum exits for the width of staircase is 1.1 meter. So no decrease in the width from top to bottom. Egress, okay, the measurement for one exit width is 552 or 550. Okay, for building above 30 meters, staircase must be reached to roof. For building above 80 meters, to provide a 550 staircase. Okay, as for calculation of exit capacity, whether it's staircase or horizontal exits or door side, so the calculation bylaw 175 says refer to 7 schedule. Okay, how do you calculate? Okay, area. This is very short form, short calculation. Basically, you have the area, you divide by the factor, occupancy load factor, and then you divide by exit capacity, whether it's a door or staircase, and then you times 0.55. You got the width of the exit, and then calculation of staircase width, sufficient width of the staircase, minimum 0.1. Minimum 900 if the capacity for the throughout the whole building is less than 50%. Okay, again, this is the formula. As for firefighting access, fire appliances access, we refer to bylaw 140, and they already have island based on the volume, island site around the building, or you may have only 1/4 or half or 3/4. Availability of water is must be we refer to hydrant. Okay, fire control room, command and control center. For building more than 30 meters, you need a control room. Voice com for certain building more than, when you have a lift, if you're a hotel, then you need a PA system, isolation switch. For area more than 129 meter square. Private access building, for normal access 155. 155 doesn't fall under active. Because active start as 2 to 5. So it's a normal. It's not fire protected. The bomba only considered as a protected or fire staircase when the building reach above 18 meters. Okay, the last part, just now we discussed on the active fire requirement, extinguishment, detection and alarm. So detection, this is the bylaw, fire alarm. Okay, for fire extinguishment system, we have manual, automatic, rising system, fire extinguisher hydrant 2 to 5, hose reel 2 to 6, and portable extinguisher 2 to 7. Automatic, you have automatic system. in general, sprinkler system 228, foam 223, 223 and 234, and carbon dioxide 235. As for rising system, dry riser, wet riser, and newcomer 230, 231, and schedule. Yeah, other consideration connected to active fire requirement, you must have a water storage sufficient for the fire. Water storage can be divided into two. First, the firefighting tank meant for hose reel, wet riser, and then a separate tank for sprinkler. As for emission power system, whether is a isolated battery or connect to central battery, or you have a generator set. Okay, as for building, if you look throughout the lecture, remember that the building always stated 18 meters. First, let's say by law 194, state that okay, building topmost floor 12 meters, and then 229 18 meters, and then where riser start at 30.5. So basically, when you design the building, want to keep building this firefighting requirements, always look at the height of the building. First, of course, obviously, you have to look at the purpose group, and then you look at the height of the building. So from the height of the building, and then also the size of the building, you can predetermine the fire requirements for that particular building. So, okay, as for bylaw, you look, there are certain height limit description, 12 meters. Okay, they are building 12 meters, single staircase, 18.3, 30, after 45, then 45, then 70. Because fire requirements is always referring to the height. Let's say, okay, what are the system by height? For building 18.3 meters, okay, you need what? You need whenever you exceed 18 meters, you need firefighting access lobby, staircase, lift. You need a dry or wet riser. Then you need fire lift. Above 30.5, you need wet rising system. Above just now dry. After 30, you need wet riser. You need fire alarm. You need control room. You need voice com. And also this is active. If you put down together with passive, remember staircase, if you're building more than 30 meters, the staircase must be reached to the roof. Okay, for A by area, electrical isolation switch for net area above that 129. Okay, let's recap back again. Okay, for staircase, this is summary. Okay, as for staircase, single staircase up to 12 meters, provision of a single staircase by law 194. Above, apart from that, all building must have 2 or more staircase. If it's reached 30 meters, once a building more than 30 meters, you must reach to roof level. Okay, as for compartment, okay, for building more than 30 meters, floor, the floor above 12 meters must be designed as compartment floor. Okay, for basement, obviously, it's more than 100 meters square. It must be a compartment floor. Okay, this is on the cladding, small lobby. Small lobby here for basement. This is all the lobby. Below 18 meters, you don't need a protected lobby. Above 18 meters, you need a protected lobby up to 45. If more than 45 meters, the lobby must be pressurized. Okay, next, this is ventilated staircase lah. Staircase up to 12 meters, you need only 5% of ventilation on top of the staircase. Okay, above 18 meters, if it's internal staircase, you need a pressure. You need to have ventilation. If it's more than 18, you need a staircase to be pressurized. Okay, this is fire staircase. Fire staircase start from 18. Fire lift start at 18 meters. Okay, if based on not fire bylaw, normal bylaw, lift start at 12. Any building more than 12 meters, you need a lift, passenger lift. But after 18 meters, you need a fire lift. Pressurize. Okay, below this is a fire access lobby. For building below than 18, you don't need a fire access lobby. The command control room start from 30 meters. Okay, and this is riser. From ground to up to 18 meters, you don't need any riser. Once you hit 18 meters, you need a riser, which is dry riser up to 30.5 meters. From 30.5 meters above is a wet riser. Okay, this is a fire alarm. Up to 30 meters, you refer to the time schedule. After more than that, you need to stage your fire alarm. Okay, that's about it. Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Arkitek Fuad, for the very in-depth sharing. Wow. Okay. All right. We got a few more questions here from Facebook, and yeah, mostly from Facebook.
Sini mana?
Yeah. There's one question from Facebook. Will you be able to share your slides later on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is this on the? Is it on the chat?
It's in Facebook. It's not here. It's this one is just we have filtered some of the questions.
Can you copy in the chat?
Sure.
Can you copy the chat? I will answer the previous question first.
Okay. Sure.
And then you paste on the chat.
Yep. Okay. We'll be posting on the chat as well, and also later on, this recording of this lecture will be posted in our Facebook, Instagram, and Masa. We'll put up a link there as well if you guys need the slides. Yeah. Right. We'll proceed with the questions now.
Okay, if a question dan dia punya Selangor bylaw 96 bylaw 140 or 40 access road lah. The access way shall be positioned so that the nearer edge shall be not less than 2 meters or more than 10 meters. The access way shall be positioned so that the nearer edge shall not. I don't understand this. Let me look at the new one. I'm looking at my glasses.
It's okay. Take your time.
Let me put my glass. Oh, yeah. This is the nearer edge. Yeah. Saya pun tak faham even Malay. Jalan dan rancas berkedudukan akhir laluan tidak kurang dari 2 meter atau tidak lebih dari 10 meter.
It's okay. Maybe we can go to that question first. If you want to.
I'll check back on this. Because the road itself is 6 meters. where it says not less than 2 at the final access way. I'll check back on this because it's by law. This is new one, the revision 2012, not 86. 140. We're talking about 142C. I'll check back on this. Ceremonial question. Okay, is staircase for 7-story podium car park. Apa the height? 5. Seven-story car park, half of the height. Again, this is the same question earlier on, whether whether you have sufficient ventilation, you need to calculate the HH, the ACH is exchange per hour, the unit for ventilation. I think half of the height is 5 floors with no window, and then the top of it, whether those last two floors have sufficient ventilation or not, those must be calculated. And normally Bomba will, because what we do is for submission there are 2 types. First architect, okay. What next is engineer. What normally when the engineer submit, after approval, Bomba will ask for calculation for ventilation. But the question is, because you have window on the top last 2 floors, then there's no point of having it pressurized. Pressurized is you have to enclose it altogether, so it defeats the purpose of having a pressurized. Your question may be just whether the ventilation, natural ventilation is sufficient or not. Once you have pressurized, you cannot have other ventilation. Okay. Next, windows kalau dalam mall untuk travel distance dalam tenant termasuk dalam 60. What do you mean by tenant? Tenant in the mall, kalau shop lah. Even the tenant is also for on the shops. If it's travel distance for shops. Yeah, I'll look at it. Travel distance. Okay, travel distance. Okay, shops. Okay, sprinkler 45, 30. Yeah. Okay. To answer the question, why is it 60? Because just now we'll be looking at it. It's only shops 30 and 45. 30 unsprinkled, 45 is sprinkler. The first question is travel distance and then masuk dalam 60. So the first is 45, 30 and 45 is not even 60, and then the distance count is the same because it's shops. Whether it's tenant or visitors, it's the same. It doesn't discriminate lah whether it's tenant or someone else. The commercial zone area, the violated corridor required to comply with. So, Deva Kumar Shamugam, zone area, the violated corridor required to comply 50%. Okay, the thing is with this lecture, we are translating whatever bylaw is saying. If you want to contest, you have a corridor. Why do you need to comply with 50% because it's non-habitable? I'm not here to contest whatever. I mean that to argue any finding in the bylaw because the bylaw is stated that way. I'm just expressing whatever the bylaw is saying. So Deva Kumar, I'm sorry if you want to contest why you need to comply since that you don't have habitable space, then you can address it to Bomba lah. Even Bomba is just following whatever the bylaw lah. You have to look at who did this bylaw lah. Okay. Syaril Muhammad Ramli, what is the position of Bomba for location of first, of course, is accessible lah. Accessible from it's easier that near the porch. And then Bomba doesn't mind as long as very accessible, easy accessible. And again, for any building more than 30 meters. Okay, Pak Yung, when do we need to provide fire appliance vehicle parking? No, there's no indication. Even bylaw 140, it just said that you need to access the road. You don't need to park the fire brigade. How does parking tak ada? How do you determine the number if parking required? There's none required. If a Bomba officer requests you, then ask him to show which bylaw saying that you need to provide fire appliances vehicle parking. Okay, Siharan, 1 horse rail 1800. If one standard size 45 extinguisher. Fire extinguisher doesn't do coverage. Normally, you look at it at near the escape road only. There's no indication in the bylaw how many extinguisher. Normally, we put it, okay, how many staircase do you have? Then we put it at every escape staircase. Okay, Ezane high how normal floor and compartment floor. Okay, compartment floor is whereby the fire cannot penetrate through the materials, and then the material can withstand the fire resistant period as prescribed under 9 schedule. Okay, that's the two things. In order to prove that, normally the manufacturer or the supplier must have it tested by CRIM and get a certificate by CRIM and certificate by Bomba. Because normally Bomba for normal concrete, they don't need a certificate as well. Once you specify, you look at your drawing specs, concrete floor is already compartment floor, understood as for Bomba. Because of this bylaw, it's been managed early on by British, because over there they use a different kind of floor, like timber floor or even steel joists. Those are not fire, because over here in Malaysia, lots of concrete. So once you specify concrete, then Bomba is okay. But to answer your question, if you would really want to have to know the difference between normal and compartment, then you may look at the fire resistant period at the next schedule. Okay, now is there a requirement to go for performance-based approach to submit the this is not question for student. Is there a requirement to go for performance-based approach to submit the because I didn't cover bylaw 245 because bylaw 245 is basically based on submission. Okay, because we have another we may have another lecture on this on submission. Okay, let me elaborate a bit on submission lah. Okay, as for bomba submission, there are 3 types of submission. The first one is a normal submission. Normal submission is whereby we as architect, we do everything in compliance to the bylaw, and then we get it approved, and then after that, engineer will submit. And based on our approval, they will submit their parts. Those are normal. As for performance-based approach PBA, PBA is where the provision under bylaw, you cannot comply on the provision of the bylaw. For instance, you're designing an airport. Okay, airport. Airport, you have such a vast space, triple of so many volumes, in which you cannot comply even to the compartmentation limit of bylaw. You look at the bylaw 7 schedule. Airport, obviously you cannot comply with the compartmentation limit. So performance-based approach is meant for as a building that in which you cannot comply in one part of or any part of the bylaw. So for that particular, you have to submit performance-based. What difference? What are the differences between PBA and normal submission? As for PBA, normally you have to the client have to engage the third party. Apart from architect and engineer, they have to engage fire engineer. Fire engineer will do the simulation or any system. They will propose a special system in which, let's say, the smoke can escape by through of a special system. They have to present to bomba the system that applicable to that particular building. Once they get it approved, then only it will attach to the submission of architect and engineer. Okay, once it has been approved, and then the building complete. After that, they will do testing. The fire engineer will lead on the inspection of this building. So to answer your building, is there a requirement to go performance based? Example, if building exceed 150, is it feasible to apply regular? Then if it's you cannot comply to any bylaw, then you by any means just submit PBA. Even if you look at KLCC, about 86 story, and it's more than 30 meters. By right, if you follow the bylaw, any building more than 30 meters, the staircase must reach to the roof. So KLCC, is there any rooftopnya ni? Tak ada kan? Because they submit to PBA. To answer your question, then tak boleh. For building more than 150, normally you could submit PBA lah. Okay, that's it. So you have
Yep. So yeah, thank you for your questions and thank you.
I hope lah. I can answer, but ada few answer question I can answer. Tanjia Munir, I have to check lah. Because I miss out on this thing. There's one more message.
Yep. Okay. There's one more. I think this is the last one we'll take because it's running a bit late now.
Oh, ni, Mumi Rosa. Okay. Again, tadi just now can minta punya PBA. Let's say just now submission for bomba, there are 3 types. First, normal submission, right? Second, PBA. Just now we talk about performance-based approach in which any part of one or any part of bylaw cannot comply. Then in which you have to engage fire engineer, apart from architect and engineer, and then you have to do the PBA submission lah. And then the third kind of submission is FS, we call it FSDP, Fire Safety Design Philosophy, FSDP. FSDP is meant for highly hazardous building. We're talking about explosive, petrochemical building. The regulation is not in the bylaw. You have to comply part of the bylaw, but there's also part of regulation that is not in the bylaw. So in that matter, the client has to engage first architect and engineer, and then also chemical or any engineer related that are knowledgeable to that system, whether explosive, if it's chemical, then chemical engineer, if it's petrochemical, then petrochemical engineer, then that engineer will do a report on the building lah, and then present them to the bomber. Once they get approved, then only we can submit. Architect engineer can submit it together with the fire engineer. Those submission we call it FSDP, Fire Safety Design Philosophy. They may have a certain regulation for special exploration of petrochemical and everything in their, I don't know, their own regulation or bylaw, in which it's not within our bylaw. Okay, that's about it. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I hope it's answered your question. Okay, it's quite dry. It's quite tough topic.
Very interesting, very in-depth as well. Very good information. Yeah. Thank you for all the questions. Also, you can see in Facebook, Architect Adrianta commented. Thank you for your comment, Architect Adrianta.
Adrianta's there, is it?
Yeah, he was watching a bit just now. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. So about the slides, we will post it along with our video in YouTube. We can get the slides from you, right? Later, Architect.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Yep.
I need to manage a bit because one candidate spell out this tutored of 6045. Yeah, I need to manage a bit, and then I get in touch with Jason, right?
Yeah, sure, definitely. Okay. So this marks our end of our session tonight. So do keep in touch with us in our Masa's Instagram and Facebook for the next online lecture. As mentioned before, this lecture is recorded, and the video link and the slides will be posted in our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And also, just a note, if you haven't already done yet, you can also register for PAM membership at www.mypam.org.my. There's a lot of benefits for architecture students there. And until then, we have a nice night, and thank you again for coming tonight. Thank you, Architect Fuad, for sharing us your in-depth information, and catch you guys next time again. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.